Directing traffic, gonna go deep, has a man deep, it is caught for the touchdown, Corey Davis!
If he has good technique, he will be elite. If his technique becomes great, not just good, then he's a Hall of Famer. Drive face, full cell vertical, get into the blind spot, and he absolutely burns it. Corner is lost. He literally has no idea where Wilson is.
Really high floor, really high ceiling. You could be talking about the best corner in the league. Sauce can do that.
This is actual film. This is actual football talk. It's a football show. We're supposed to talk football, not storylines.
And you are listening to another edition of Blitz, Kyle, the first edition post actually playing a meaningful game where the Jets get a little bit waxed or a lot of it waxed versus the Ravens 24-9 in their home opener. Before we get into all that, how you doing, sir?
Minus that terrible loss, I guess I'm doing pretty good. I did have fun on Sunday aside from that.
So you did enjoy the festivities prior to the game, which, by the way, for the people who came up and even in the stadium, it was obviously really nice to meet everybody. So do appreciate that.
Yeah, I always enjoy seeing you. I don't know if the feelings reciprocated, but yeah, I enjoy seeing you. It's not every day that I get to go to a football game with my dad. Got to go with my brother and his fiance, and got to see my college professor. With some other people. So listen, despite the shitty weather and the loss, I still had a decent time. But man, there's just something like, any true football fan, there's something that you're miserable after a loss, especially a loss like that too.
Dude, my mood today, first walking out of that game, is completely different. Like you get to contextualize a little bit. You got to watch the film. Again, it's low 70s right now, like October type of weather. So that automatically always puts me in a good mood. And by the way, sorry if there is any like internet problems right now. I just finished recording the film episode, which is still converting. So my internet might be slow for like the next 20 minutes while it converts. But nonetheless, and in terms of the housekeeping, Jarby31 on Twitter, I just put up a full Jacob Martin review, put up a full Quan review. We were a little bit late getting them out, so I just gave them out for free. Herbig's coming. Herbig, Solomon Thomas, and I forget who else, but a couple of free reviews coming out for people. But yeah, Kyle, I'm assuming your mood is much different right now than it was Sunday at 4:05, Sunday even at 3:00. As soon as the Ravens go up like 17-3 or whatever it was, 20-3, we knew the game was over. Like, it's miserable. And it was raining, pretty decent stream of rain the first half, and then it slowed down. Thank God it wasn't like 50 degrees out. Thank God it was like 75, because it would have been much worse. It really wasn't that bad outside, considering how warm it was. But like I said, tailgate was fun. I had a few beers. Well, I had quite a few beers, as you know.
Quite a few beers, quite a few shots.
Yeah.
Quite a few of them mixed together.
Yeah. So had a good time there. And I went to Tyson and Let's Talk Jets, and I tailgated with them for probably a good hour, where we got really after it for a little bit, but it was a good time. But nonetheless, it does suck, obviously, when you're seeing the Jets not really compete in this game. And we'll contextualize all of it. Trust me, we'll get into the position groups. We'll really get through the nitty gritty of it. I just did a probably 3 hour show on it, or close to it. But it does suck when you see them getting blown out. And then after the game, you see the Bears win. You see the Texans compete. You see the Jaguars compete. You see the Seahawks beat the frickin' Broncos on Monday Night Football. You see the Lions compete. I forget. I don't think the
Geno
Lions won.
Smith.
Let's see. Yeah. And then you have the Jets come out and lay a complete egg. Now, with that being said, is there things to take away from this game that were positive? Yes. Did a lot of what we expected to go wrong, Kyle? Let me ask you this. Is Flacco still in your top 25? Is he still 20? Are we still confident he's a good backup, or have you changed your tune on that one a little bit?
Well, Joe, let's not forget that one of the guys that we were arguing about was Bryce Hall. And did he do anything to stay in your top 25? Because he certainly didn't with me.
Was that play he gave up the touchdown really that bad, Kyle?
I watched it and I was like, okay, Joe Blewett's definitely going to be critical of it. He didn't get his shuffle in, and he also could have been called for DPI too. He starts getting his hands on the defender, doesn't even look back. like when it's
Yeah.
caught. And like, Samini's whole tweet about like, even though you can't criticize Bryce Hall for not having good separation. According to NFL Next Gen Stats, he had blah, 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 blah. He was this close and didn't give up that much separation. But truthfully, the receiver had to slow down because the ball was slightly underthrown.
Yeah,
So I don't really know what he's talking about.
The thing was with Bryce, he could have got an extra shuffling. And the thing with Bryce Hall is he needs to have such perfect technique to win because of how unathletic he is. But with all that being said, I have a ton of notes. I have a ton of things I want to get into this game. I think everybody by like Wednesday, Thursday start to turn it around a little bit. And I'll try to have the same passion stuff I will about certain topics, but you hear a lot of dumb things flying around out there, Kyle, but I'm looking forward to breaking it down a little bit. But I do want to say hi to the chat. By the way, my voice is going to go at a certain point during this because I just recorded and I literally couldn't talk. I was actually supposed to do Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7 stream on Tuesday, and I called him and I could barely talk. Like you know how I was after the game. So I just came back. It's going to go though. Chris, what is up? Guys, even though I think we got after Chris a little bit, but Chris is always in here. I love Chris too. What's up, Beyond? Steven, more alarming that we still made the same mistakes year after year. Special teams, more drop passes, can't convert third. Well, yeah, we'll talk about it all. Tony Adams experiment. Well, I think Whitehead might actually play. He practiced today, so as a backup, yes, I would like to see it. Or really even over Joyner. That one play, Kyle, which we'll talk about.
Is pass interference?
No, not even the pass interference and the play deep was. I said on the film show. You're obviously going to watch it. It was probably the worst play I've ever seen a safety make, and I've watched really, really bad safeties. LaMarcus Joyner.
Joyner's bad, man. He's bad. His Raiders tape was shit. Like when we signed him, and he's done nothing as a Jet to prove otherwise.
He hasn't played safety in 4 years. Like it was absolutely dreadful. That play, but we'll get into all of that in a little bit. Probably meant both. Okay. I think I'm already way behind in the chat. You guys are lighting it up, of course, which is great. Bench Lakin for we're not going there. But Kyle, what did we say before this? We said that Jets fans are overrating Lakin Tomlinson a little bit. That game was a lot of it. We said that we think he's around like a top 10 to 12-ish left guard in the league, where a lot of people talk about him like he was a surefire all-pro, Pro Bowler, top 5 guy. We saw a lot of bad from Tomlinson, which I get into in the review. But we're not benching him yet. Talking about $14 million or $15 million, whatever it is for Lakin Tomlinson. You're not benching him.
It's like $30 million guaranteed. Yeah, you're not benching him.
There's absolutely no way. But
after he has a debut like that, like I started to think like, okay, I didn't love the signing to begin with. And it's like, man, like, of course you can change things around, especially offensive line. Sometimes it takes a while to kind of get in the groove. But I started to think like, oh shit, is this another bad day one signing in free agency? No, but it's early.
By the way, if I'm making faces when I'm drinking this Yingling, I don't know if this is skunky or if it just tastes different right now, but I'm going to power through it. I think I don't know what's going on there. There's a bunch of people in here who I don't want to highlight what they're saying because we're going to talk about it. But Hawk, K. Delgado, Nick Allen, Steven, Eagle, as per usual. There's people fighting about crying in their beers or not crying in their beers. But we're going to have a lot of arguing, I'm sure, Kyle. I don't want to argue too much. I'm actually in a pretty good mood. What's up, MB?
Why is that?
Stop by.
Why are you in a good mood? Jets lost.
Dude, this weather I'm always in a good mood in the fall, especially Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe not Thursday. I start to convince myself, listen, the Jets beat the Browns. Who cares about week 1? Nobody cares. Art, what's up, Art? Art stopped by as well.
Yeah, that was a good time with Art.
We paid him to say this. Kyle, that's the game. Dudes were cool. So appreciate that, Art. You got to stop by earlier next time. But Nikki, Hawk, Justin, Smith from Mike. I don't know if that's one of your students or somebody who prefers you or loves Kyle. Swolzy, week 1 takeaways. Flacco, Joyner, Fant, Man, throw up, Carter, entire D minus Joyner, Garrett Wilson. Stars. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit. Captain K Techno, Verge, Busted Knuckles. We got some people coming out of the woodworks here, Kyle. Blitz BK. Okay, Kyle, we gotta get into this. So let's and this is gonna be talked about a lot, and it was hit on plenty after the game, and to me, you're kind of putting the Jets in a more like that circus atmosphere. And I don't necessarily love talking about the storyline and stuff. I like just talking about football, so I'm always going to seem unorganized when I talk about this stuff because I never know how to lay it out. But the whole Salah thing, Salah coming out after the game and saying, or it's either after the game or the day after the game, and saying that he's keeping the receipts for when the Jets are winning or whatever, however exactly he followed up that quote. But what do you think about Salah keeping receipts on the people who are down in the Jets right now?
Well, he's certainly changing his tune a little bit. The standard operating procedure in the NFL, and I think coaching in general, whether it's high school, college, or NFL, is you don't really run your mouth. You always talk up your opponent, always say that they're a great team. And honestly, it's corny. And, sometimes teams are, like some teams like Bill Belichick, when Adam Gase was here with the Jets, Bill Belichick would praise Gase and the Jets and, say that they're a good team and stuff. And obviously that wasn't true, but it's just kind of the name of the game. And it's like, you don't want to give your opponent bulletin board material. And, Salah, he came in here, everyone praised him for how well he handles the media and, he's a professional on and off the field. And, that New York media, the pressure of, winning in New York is, starting to get to him a little bit. And, listen, if he's going to talk like that, you better fucking back it up.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, so I think if they were to lose this game, they didn't really say anything. Okay, we lost to the Ravens. It was really ugly. But coming out and talking about the receipts, I think he's putting pressure on himself that you don't necessarily want to, because if they come out flat next week and they're getting blown out versus the Browns, and we talk about the receipts thing, people are reporters fucking showing up. Got the receipts. What happened? We got our receipts and you didn't show up again. So that and if you're going to start, and people talk about it in the chat a little bit, I don't know exactly who it was, but like, I don't know if that's directed more towards the media or to the fans. I'm hoping it's towards the media, because if you're going to go at Jets fans who haven't seen really any winning, any meaningful winning in the last 50 years, and an absolutely dreadful last decade of Jets football, we are impatient, and you do not want to get on our bad side. It does not work out well when people start going against the fans. So I think it more is towards the media. And I've seen a couple of players come out, whether it be like Bart Scott or whoever it is, they seem to be more in support of Salah with this statement, like saying, like, the players feel like he has his back. And I think Rankins came out and said he has his back, and a couple of other guys. So I don't love the comment. I think some of the players do, but you are putting yourself at risk just in terms of the media and the fans' eyes, because if you're going to start talking shit, you better back it up. And week one, they didn't back it up, right? So
there is multiple ways you can look at it. I mean, like,
yeah.
I think that there is legit amount of sincerity when he is saying that, because I do think that he does believe in the talent of his team. I mean, I didn't listen to his interviews on the Michael K show or wherever else he made such comments, but I did, see some of them tweeted out and stuff. And I heard him say something like, when Joe Douglas got here, this was barely an expansion team or something like that. And that's quite a statement to make, even though the roster was dreadful.
I was going to bring that up, Kyle. Sorry, that's my apologies for interrupting you. But like with that, I want you to continue on that point. Is calling it an expansion roster with some of those players either still being in the NFL or still on the team, is that necessarily the smartest thing to say? Like, we absolutely sucked ass when I got here. All those players were terrible. Like, is that the smartest thing to do?
It's a good point. I didn't really think of that too much, but how many of those players, from when Joe Douglas, like if you had to give a percentage off the top of your head, how many is it?
1.7.
Okay. So it's not a lot. So like, yeah, and if you are one of the guys sticking around, then okay, hey, you're one of the good guys. So I don't think you're worried about it too much, truthfully.
Yeah.
But the point is I think that when Salah said that, there's he's speaking from the heart. Like, hey, listen, we had a shit roster. I knew that. And we've done a lot to work it around. And I think he does actually genuinely believe in the talent of this team and thinks that they can win. And I think that he realizes that, hey, listen, that score 24-9 was not indicative of how the Jets can play. And, even though the Jets definitely deserve to lose, they probably didn't deserve to lose that bad. I mean, it's a lot of stupid things like, them fumbling, losing at Breece Hall, forcing a fumble, not getting it back, Michael Carter dropping a touchdown.
Yeah, which people got mad at that fumble, which I don't think I highlighted, because like oh, there's 3 Jets around the ball and they couldn't grab the fumble. Like the ball went directly back to the Ravens player. Like it was kind of just a shitty, like it was a shitty situation.
You can practice like recovering fumbles and stuff and scoop and score drills and things like that. But it's something like when the game happens, a lot of it's just kind of luck. Effort is definitely a big part of it, effort and grit, but a lot of it's just you kind of really can't teach it, and you never know what way the ball is going to bounce.
Kyle, don't forget effort, grit, and strain.
Oh yes, grit and strain, absolutely.
Yeah,
strain number 1.
But
so I think that like when he's saying this, like there's a part of him that's saying like, hey, listen, you guys want to keep writing off the Jets. We'll see what happens. And on the one hand, some of his players might really respect him for that, saying, hey, listen, coach actually believes in us. Because sometimes a coach doesn't really believe in their team. And if the players can sense that the coach doesn't believe in them, then that's definitely a recipe for losing. So listen, I wasn't like upset when I saw him make these comments, but there was a part of me that's like, okay, now you better back it up now.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of him saying that, to be completely honest. Again, just kind of shut your mouth and just wait to see, because like he's already hurt himself in the media now with this comment, and then the whole thing with the injuries. He's obviously probably the worst head coach I've ever seen in terms of relaying injury news and things like that. Like he should just not open his mouth at all in terms of diagnosing how long injuries are going to last or whatever it may be, because he's been brutal in that aspect. And it started off the season with the whole Wilson thing, and then now the whole receipt thing, and then coming out in the media, and people got a little bit frustrated about him calling out Garrett Wilson too. I don't know if you saw that, where he called out
Garrett
Wilson.
What did you say about Garrett Wilson?
He so don't quote me on this because I don't have the exact quote. But he basically said on that third and 10 play where he broke those 2 tackles that at the last he could have he should have continued running straight and lowered his shoulder for a first down, and said he tried to cut back and he got tackled, which you look at the film, he probably could have ran for the first down there. But again, it's all happening so quick. I'm not going to blame him for that. He caught the ball, broke 2 tackles amazingly, and then didn't do the absolute right thing with the third guy. And he called him out for that, saying that, we had mistakes and, Garrett Wilson could have kept running forward. But calling him out
out of all places to call out, that's the one you picked.
Exactly. You're gonna call him out instead of calling out the guy you just paid $14 million a year to and absolutely sucked ass. Like Laken Tomlinson was brutal. So to me, like he has too much.
That game, that Laken Tomlinson game was worse than some GVR games we've seen in recent years.
He was. I got after him in that film review, so you'll see. But yeah, he was brutal. But like to me, Salah, he treats with kid glove. He treats his veterans with like kid gloves. Like he's too nice to these guys. Like he's always willing to call out the young guy or like the bottom of the roster guy. But how do you not call out LDT in the offensive line there, or Joe Flacco? Like Joe Flacco's fine, but Garrett Wilson didn't break the 3rd tackle, so now we're gonna call out Garrett Wilson. He should have broke 1 or 2. So what do you think about those comments? As I let my dog out.
Well, you are the first to relay that information to me about Garrett Wilson. I don't know how I missed that, but
yeah, that was just beyond dog.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like you want to talk about like, and that happened relatively early in the game, and the Jets offense was really sputtering up to that point. And honestly, it sputtered all game, but that was kind of like one of those plays where it's like, oh shit, like, okay, here's something that we needed. Here's something to get the offense going. And like, I mean, when we're watching that in live time, I thought it was a first down. I don't know about you. So like, I mean, you want to talk about creating something out of nothing? That's what he did on that play. And to pick holes at that as if like he could have done any more. I mean, like he did way above expectation on that play. Versus some other guys were, not doing the bare minimum on certain things. That's interesting.
Then dude, yeah, bare minimum. That's to say the least. Now, kind of following up, like the people talking in the media. What do you think about Conklin coming out after the game and saying it's not the same old shit? And most players kind of relayed that message. Do you care? To me, I'm at the point where I don't give a shit what you say in the media. Prove it. And we'll talk about the game. Listen, like you said, the 2 fumbles, the no fumble recovery, Michael Carter dropping in a wide open pass on 4th down or running for an easy touchdown. The combination of Joe Flacco being bad and not a top 25 player on the roster and a bad offensive line, it just led to a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of what we expected, right? Like, where do we think the Jets would struggle really this season, Kyle? Or at least to start the season? Quarterback, especially Joe Flacco coming in, thought they would struggle. we thought the offensive line would struggle initially. Why? Because of the communication, moving guys around. So we expected the offensive line to struggle. Now, am I excusing Laken Tomlinson and Fant? Absolutely not, because I thought they would struggle, not be dreadful. They were dreadful. And then at safety, we said they would struggle. LaMarcus Joyner is garbage. They didn't really do much to address it. And LaMarcus Joyner let up a 35, 40-yard illegal or pass interference, and then one of the worst plays at safety I've ever seen in my entire life on that long touchdown. So we struggled where we thought they would, 2 for 4, 14 for third down. There was a lot of bad, but there was also, with that being said, a lot of good. So walking out of the stadium, very, very depressed. Watching the film, and you guys know there's 100 people in here. We don't sugarcoat things. So if they were really that bad, we would tell you that they were that bad. This was as not positive. This was, I guess, a game where I was not as negative watching the film. Like, do you feel that way? Like, did you watch it all, and do you feel more positive about what happened after, like seeing some individual player performances and just realizing, okay, a little bit of a cleanup from the offensive line and a quarterback who is not fucking taking the snap and just drifting backwards every single play, they could actually be a productive offense, and they could have been in this game? Because to me, this was a game where, like, I hate the cliche, oh, we beat ourselves, but this was a game we weren't out talented by the Ravens.
Yeah, I wouldn't say out talented, but definitely outmanned. Outplayed. What's the word I'm looking for? The grit and the strain. The Ravens won the grit and strain game. That's for sure. Yeah. When we were looking at the Ravens roster last week, I wasn't super impressed by their front seven. I certainly felt like they had a lot more impressive front sevens in years past. But when you let guys like Justin Houston, I mean, how old is he now? 35? I mean, like, he absolutely whooped everyone's ass who he went against. He whooped Max Mitchell's ass. When he rushed against AVT on rare occasions, he whooped his ass. When he rushed against George Fant, he whooped his ass. I mean, like, you should not be letting 35-year-old edge rushers beat you. I mean, Calais Campbell, he's another one who's pretty old, who was whipping guys around. Whoever number 92 is, he was like a third-round pick, second-round pick, something with Mabduke, something like that. He was whooping everybody's ass on the Jets. I walked away impressed by that guy, but I didn't even know his name. So I don't know how good he was last year. But I mean, the Jets got, I mean, like,
you have a combination of a skittish quarterback who doesn't really care about being there. Like, the fact that Flacco comes out after this game and says, oh, well, coming to the line, there's a lack of energy. All of, like, you're the guy who's 37 years old. You're the leader, and you're not going to, like, try to up the, like, to me, Flacco just seemed like a guy who's there, like, for a paycheck. Like, again, saying that there was no energy. Like, you are the leader of a young offense, at least at this point. Well,
yeah, he's never going to give you that. I mean, dude, just think about like press conference where it was one of the preseason games, and one of the sideline reporters was talking to him, and he's like, "Hey, listen, man, I'm not good at selling myself." It's like, dude, if you're not selling yourself, like, you're supposed to get in a huddle with 10 other men and have them believe in you. And if you don't even believe in yourself, which I'm not saying he doesn't believe in himself, but he doesn't project that he believes in himself. I mean, good luck. And yes, I still had him in the top 25, but I almost feel like when you watch this game and like how pressure was coming from all angles, this seemed like Zach would have played better this game, even though he's not at the level where Joe is in the offense and having a grasp of the offense, but just being able to buy yourself a little split extra second to make a throw. Zach would have definitely played better in this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, as you can tell, like, we're not getting into like all the players yet, because I'm trying to kind of hit the storylines before we really get into like position group by position group. But Flacco, like, there were so many missed chances where a guy was open, he gets sacked, or where he wasn't sacked. Well, now he misses the throw because he's Joe Flacco or lacking confidence. Like, there was plenty of balls that he could have threw that he didn't pull the trigger on, or times where he should have pulled the trigger on a check down and didn't do it. Like, there was plenty of bad plays from Flacco. But some of the other storylines from this game, you heard Lawson come out and said he understood the booing. I don't know if you booed at any point, Kyle, but he said he understood it because of how the product was on the field. And again, hearing the fans boo, do you want to go against them? No. So I don't think that was anything outlandish to say in the media. Another thing, just in terms of booing, that I want to address, not necessarily address because it's not like I made a statement on it, but the whole Reed thing. How'd you feel about the Reed interception, him going to midfield and celebrating? Because when I was at the game, I was not happy. Did I know his dad passed away prior to the game and he was celebrating or not celebrating his dad, but giving, praise to his dad or however you want to call that? No, but that's something that we should clarify because a lot of fans were not happy about that where I was sitting. But I think it's important to note that the dude was celebrating for his dad who literally passed away as he's coming onto the field. And obviously, honoring his dad with that celebration. So it's something we have to talk about at least a little bit because there were fans who were booing, who were 100% booing that.
I don't know. For whatever reason, I didn't really pay much attention to it at the time because obviously it was late in the game and the Jets clearly were not going to win. So there was a part of me that wasn't happy. And I don't know, maybe I just, play's over. I'm not going to miss anything. Let me sit and talk to the people who I'm loved and next to. And I just didn't really, I don't know. I didn't notice it for whatever reason, but yeah, it makes sense now. I'm definitely not a fan of people celebrating when you're down, but that makes sense. Especially like when you celebrate like a tackle or a first down, like an interception. Okay, especially an impressive interception like that. That was a really impressive play. Like if you're down by 20 in a game that you're clearly not going to win, can you celebrate after making such an impressive play like that? I mean, maybe it's a little bit more acceptable. Yeah. But it probably still shouldn't be done if you're losing that badly. But in this case, yeah, it's obviously acceptable.
Yeah, for sure. Some other side notes before we really get into the game, position group by position group. What do you think about the tight end usage, Kyle? Uzama getting paid. Again, this is another guy, Kyle, who we told you coming out into the season that was not going to be as impressive as we thought, or as fans thought. With that being said, only playing 23 of 84 snaps and Thomas seeing, not Thomas, Cager seeing what, like 10, 12 snaps. What were your thoughts about that? Because I don't know why necessarily Cager was really even in the game. I don't think he should be. And then again, not seeing a guy on the field who you're paying what, $8-9-ish million to, only playing 23 reps is not obviously the best look, but
yeah. What is the purpose of having Cager on the field? I mean, do you feel like, if you're the Jets, do you honestly feel like he's a better receiver than either Conklin or Uzama? I mean, you could make the argument that maybe he's faster than Uzama or something like that, but in what other way is he better? And like the whole thing with the tight end position, and this is the whole thing with the tight end position since the inception of that position, it's partially meant for deception. Like, okay, this player can block, but he can also go out for a pass. And that keeps the defense guessing. But you bring a player like Cager out, I mean, like, you're not, like, especially if you keep him in line, like, are you really that concerned that he's going to block? I mean, you're thinking like, okay, this guy's probably going to, go out on some route or something like that. Or if you watch Jets preseason, okay, this guy's probably going to go out on some kind of slide route because that's how they used him. That's the only way they seem to use him. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, like, this guy, we were thinking he shouldn't even made the roster. And then, watching last Sunday is further evidence of that. And you're playing him, like, how much more snaps did Garrett Wilson get than Cager? It couldn't have been that much more. Like, did he maybe get tops 10 more snaps?
So I'm not. The Jets had 79 offensive snaps, and Garrett Wilson saw about half. So
did he get half? Okay, then they really turned him up at the end when they were in garbage time.
They did, yep.
But in the first half, it was really comparable in terms of the amount of snaps that they got.
What did you think about Cager? That play where Cager fell? What did you think about that one?
Yeah, I was watching that and I was like, well, I don't know. What'd you expect? That was the interception, wasn't it?
And then the thing about it too is, like, when you fall down, listen, there's a different way you have to play in the rain. And you want to shorten your stride before cuts and things like that. And he's leaning so heavy out of that break and overstrides that cut so badly. He was probably going to fall if it wasn't raining out. So I'm not going to blame the rain on that one. And even if you have to play a little bit differently in the rain. So now, did Flacco force that ball? Probably. Was it a bad throw?
That ball needs to be low.
That's what I said on the review. So I don't think that ball was the worst ball in the world, because if the ball was low, you're giving Cager a chance to make the play on the ball. But obviously he slips and it's a wide open pick to, was it Marcus Williams? So yeah. Cager obviously is targeted and can't even be relied on there. And again, you could say he slipped. But there's a difference between slipping with good technique in the rain and slipping with piss poor technique where you're expecting to slip. I'm never gonna jump into a cut in the rain. It's just not gonna happen. So he fell, but it was part of a bad cut as well. So I don't know why Cager was in the game, and then Uzama not being in the game as much as it was obviously not very encouraging for his future outlook and production with the Jets. But nonetheless, now talking about other rotations too, Kyle, what do you think about the D line rotation in terms of, Quinn Williams only seeing 63% of snaps, JFM only saw 50% of the snaps. And this is kind of the thing we talked about is like, listen, let's just extrapolate this over the rest of the season. If JFM is only playing 50% of the snaps, is he worth $14 million for 50% of snaps? He better be Aaron Donald in those 50% of snaps. And
no, especially when you factor in like all the other guys on the D line that are getting some nice change.
Yeah,
no, it doesn't make sense.
If Q wants $20 million, you're going to pay him $20 million playing 63% of the snaps, only playing 35, 40 snaps a game.
Yeah, and as a coach, at what point when your guy is hot and clearly effective, I mean, this was one of Quinnen's better games that I've seen as a pro, in my opinion. At what point do you keep feeding the hot hand? And now I know that football is very different than like basketball, like giving the guy the ball and keeping him in and having him play extra minutes. But it's like, and I get. We've been over this ad nauseum, keeping guys fresh. I totally understand and get Salah's philosophy there. But if he is winning, consistently, do you keep subbing him? Right? I mean, does that, at what point do you kind of maybe not break your principles, but, bend your principles a little bit? And they keep, and to answer your question about the D-line rotation, they keep doing this thing that we saw last year where they're putting the whole second unit in. Right. We're seeing Michael Clemens out there with Nathan Shepard. I mean, why is Nathan Shepard playing? Like Nathan Shepard, when you look at the rest of the Jets line, like he should be in out of necessity. There's an injury or something like that. He's not good enough to be out there playing a major percentage of the snaps, in my opinion. But it's like, okay, if you have the entire second unit out there, I mean, you're really exposing yourself. Like, why not rotate one guy in with the second unit? Like, to have like an entire, like, You're basically exposing yourself to numerous holes on the defense when you do that. I don't like that philosophy, and it seems that you agree with me.
Yeah, I just finished recording that show, and I brought it up on one play. I think I brought up the corner play, and I showed the view of the D line, and like, listen, no offense to any of these guys, but I think it was JJ, Solomon Thomas, Michael Clemens, and somebody else in there, but not one of JFM, Lawson, or Q was out there. Like you just don't do that. Like you need to have a stud on the line at all times, especially with how much we've invested to this line. Like it's the same. It's a thing with basketball. Like again, and people hate the Nets, whatever. But like you don't, or let's just say any superstar team, you don't sub out all the starters for all the bench. It just doesn't work like that. Like you supplement. You sub out JFM for a few plays, and then you sub in JFM for Q. Q sits out a few plays, and there's never be a scenario where not one of JFM, Lawson, or Q are on the field. And I saw it multiple times in this game. It's just that rotation is idiotic. So there's going to be situations where it's an important third down, whatever it is. They're going to stick to the rotations, and it's going to be a key third down for the game, 3rd and 6, and it's going to be Michael Clemens, JJ, Solomon Thomas, and Rankins. And you're like, what the fuck are they doing, dude? Like, so the rotation is infuriating to me. It really is. It's one of the dumber things the coaching staff does. But another thing with the coaching staff, Kyle, is that unless you want to hit on anything else from that, which feel free, the whole Wilson Barrios split where I don't know exactly what the numbers were, but it's about 50-50, where they both saw about 50% of the reps. And we said to start the season, or at least I said, I don't know if you agreed with me, that I think to start the year, Barrios and Wilson will be closer to 50-50, which happened. Now, I think with Wilson playing so well, they should have upped his snaps earlier than they did. They upped it at the end of the game, but he didn't really see any reps to start the game. And I think they came out and said that he doesn't know all the positions. So does he not know all the positions? And that's why they're not playing
but whose
him?
fault is that? I mean, like, you chose to play him with second and third string all camp.
Mm-hmm.
And is it because Garrett Wilson has a learning disability and he can't pick up the playbook, or he just doesn't have enough reps there? And I'm going to go with the latter. I mean, I blame that on the staff.
I thought that would be the case anyway, but obviously when you see him producing like he was producing, you want to see him on the field more. So I didn't think he was necessarily involved as much as he should be, because Wilson had a good game, dude. Like Wilson was good. I don't know, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but like he had that whip route at the top of the screen, or at the top of the screen.
The very end of the game?
The very end of the game, destroyed the corner. Flacco puts the ball wide. You're like, fuck, dude. Like Wilson had a good game.
I'm curious. I actually wanted to pick your brain on that play. Although he does win on the route, because he's a good athlete. He's a pretty good runner. I use the word pretty before good route runner. But I almost felt like when he got into his break, we did see a little bit of the overstride there, and he wasn't as clean out of the break as he could have been. And I get that the turf is. Did you see that?
So I don't remember,
because I thought of you when I was watching that. And listen,
maybe
it
was an oversight.
It's mostly a bad ball from Flacco, but I also feel like, Wilson could have gotten out of that a little bit cleaner, truthfully.
Okay, so I don't remember specifically mentioning the overstride, because I was talking about like the angle he took, where I really talk about like getting flat on whip routes for obvious reasons that I'll discuss. But I remember bringing up how freaking quick he stopped there. Like he one step, like he was already like 0 to 1 or 100 to 0. So I remember praising.
Yeah,
how
he has violent lower body movements,
dude. His ability in his lower body is elite. He has elite lower body movement skills. So I don't remember criticizing the overstride though. Maybe I did, but to be frank, I was rushing the end of the review because I didn't have enough time just based on how my day went. But no, Wilson. We'll talk about Wilson in a little bit as well. But other kind of side notes. I'm going to get to the side notes, and then I'm going to get to the chat, and then we're going to run through position by position group, and then we're going to get to the Browns game. I'm just trying to do it all, in the allocated time we have. But the Jets having more plays, 60 or 79 plays at 53 plays, and still losing the game 24-9 is almost unheard of. Winning time and possession only by a little bit, still unheard of. Obviously, very, very discouraging. The other kind of side news of this week, Kyle, before we get into the game, Whitehead was out, but now he's practicing again. So that is, I don't know if he was full or limited today. I saw somebody say in the chat he was limited. That's very discouraging, because if you have anybody and Joyner, I'm very concerned, but maybe he'll play. And then Parks was signed to the active roster, which we've been on the train of Parks is very overrated by fans. We called a few people being overrated by fans in this game, and they all played pretty poorly. So sometimes you should take it with more than a grain of salt. But nonetheless, Whitehead injured, limited practice. Parks being called up. Are we very, 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 very concerned about safety if Parks or if Joyner or Whitehead doesn't play? Limited. Harold says limited. I trust Harold.
Yeah, Harold's good. I'm definitely more worried. Listen, Whitehead was an early free agent signing, and he's a young player, and he could even still get better. He both made our top 25 list and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just not so sure that losing him is such a huge loss on any given week.
He did give up that one touchdown.
You're talking about the one where Jackson stepped up in the pocket in the red zone. That one.
I forget exactly what Jackson did, but I have some I bring up in the review. I have some questions about exactly how they play that cover for, but the vertical takes like more of like an inside stem, and Sauce passes it off to Whitehead, and then Whitehead like really opens his hips up opposite of where the receiver is going, gets undercut. And then he tries to catch up to the receiver, or no, he doesn't catch up to the receiver. He sees the receiver cutting inside, and then he just runs in a straight line, just looking for the ball instead of playing the receiver like he should. So Whitehead did give up a play or a touchdown. Overall, past that though, I thought he was pretty good, but still,
what did you? So I also saw him. I saw him blow a coverage when they were in a cover 3 really early in the game. Must have been first quarter when he didn't get to the flat quick enough, and Jackson dumped it off to somebody, and they were able to get a quick first down. But also the touchdown. Okay, so I know that you're saying that it's one of the worst plays you've seen from a safety, meaning Joyner.
No, oh my God.
Yeah. But Whitehead, you can blame him a little bit on that too. He didn't retreat quick enough into the zone there on that touchdown, the long Bateman one.
Yeah.
Did you see that as well? I mean, like, listen, you blame Joyner, but give Whitehead some blame too. Like he needs to get back quicker.
That was the worst play I've ever seen from a safety ever. Like it really was. I don't understand what Joyner was doing. Which watch the film review, I break it down. I don't know what he was doing. Now like with Whitehead, like with a lot of those guys who like have like a deep coverage responsibility, and then guys go shallow. Typically, I feel like they retreat, but they're more tight to the line of scrimmage. So it's more for like crossers and playing underneath of crossers, not necessarily matching guys on like post. So yeah, he got back late, but that was like 95% on Joyner that play. So I don't think Whitehead was outstanding, and I don't think he's an outstanding player. I think that's another guy who we tend to say is a little bit overrated by fans, but I still think Whitehead is an average NFL starting strong safety, whereas the drop off between Whitehead and Parks, or Whitehead and Joyner, or Whitehead and Ashton Davis is astronomical. So if he is out, the Jets are going to struggle at safety, dude, because Parks is overrated by fans. To be honest, me, Kyle, I don't know if my Tony Adams review swayed you in any way, but anybody else but Joyner, I would like to see Tony Adams start over any of Parks. Even if Pinnock was brought back, he's overrated by people anyway. But is it time for Tony Adams to get his chance here?
I don't see why not. I mean, you as an UDFA, he made your roster, which, you know, at safety is a little thin, but overall, you know, it's not like you could just afford to keep a bunch of UDFAs because there is some talent overall on this team. He still made a spot, and there's upside with him.
Yeah.
What upside is there with LaMarcus Joyner at this point in his career? His peak has already passed. I mean, you're just hoping that you can get some of the flair that he had earlier in his career. So I would like to see him. And, you know, we talked about how he's better than Pinnock. There's a reason he made it over Will Parks anyway. So it would be nice to see him. But we'll see. We'll see what the Jets decide to do.
Yeah. Oh, did I have the Verge Tibbs thing highlighted on the screen the entire time? That's my fault. I apologize. But do you want to hit? We'll hit on the game. Actually, do you want to do the game then the chat, or do you want to do the chat then the game?
Whatever you want, Joe. Let's do the chat. You know what? That's what I say.
All right. Let's see. NFL Live just told me we had the most players with 3+ receptions. Shame it didn't translate to the win. Did we? Didn't. I know. What is it called? I just read this. Bro, this Joe Blewett guy talking about Seahawks and Lions when they have top tier O lines is so cringe. So you're saying you expected the Seahawks to be the Broncos? Is that correct? I'm sure. I'm sure. But hold on, the Seahawks don't have top tier O line.
That's what I was thinking. Like, okay,
garbage.
So they have 2 rookies who they drafted early.
Yeah.
But what else there? I seem to be missing what other top level talent they have.
Nobody expected the Seahawks to win, but yeah, that's cringe because we expected the Lions to compete. To expect the Seahawks to compete with the Broncos is nobody expected that but Seahawks fans. So, Blewett, you're famous. You're on did you see the picture that I was on the CBS? Did you see that one or no?
I did not. I did see this comment.
I could find it. It was just after halftime, and I was eating some chicken. So I'm literally chewing chicken, and like people, it's there. I'll find it. But nonetheless, let's see.
That's funny. I got it. You have to send that to me.
Yeah. No, I'll show them on the screen. Let's see. Joyner is worse than Ashton Davis. He might be. Yingling skunk is rough. Yeah, it's a little skunky, but it's drinkable. So I don't think I'm going to tap into my third and fourth Yingling. I might have to transition to White Claw, which you guys are going to shit on me for, but it is what it is. Kyle, while I found this picture, Hawk is in a good mood because he saw a film of Zach moving around and throwing at practice today, which lifted his spirits unexpectedly. What do you think about Wilson? Do you think there's a chance he plays week 3? Bengals.
I don't think so. Why would they say he's not playing till earliest week 4, and then
are we really
all of a sudden he's gonna play week 3? I mean, like that's like you want to talk about back and forth. That messaging is just as bad as moving Fant back and forth. It's actually worse because it's something you can actually control, which the Fant thing is kind of out of necessity. So I don't think I wish he could play. I mean, I think it was Michael Nania who, when the Jets video people put out that video of him, like, jogging a little bit and stuff, Nania was like, I don't see why he can't play week 3. And when they initially said the whole timetable for his return, when his surgical procedure went according to plan. I was thinking, okay, I don't think he's going to play week 1. I don't think he's going to play week 2. Just wait till you have another home game week 3. And that way it's beyond the initial timeline. It's like beyond the max. It's a nice home game. The Bengals certainly don't have a vaunted defense. Let him come back and, get his confidence against that team. That's what I thought it was going to be. And that's part of the reason why I got tickets to the game, which I'm looking to get rid of now because he's not going to supposedly play in that game. But I don't think that they would put him out there based off of what they said. But I do hope that he's back by the Steelers, and they are catching a break there with no TJ Watt.
Is he eating chicken?
I can't. I can see you. Yeah, I can see that. That's funny.
I saw a picture.
Who noticed that? Who noticed that?
I don't know. Like 3 of my friends texted me, like, why how are you guys? One, like 2 of them weren't even Jets fans. I'm like, why are you guys watching the Jets game? And why are you watching that closely to notice me eating fucking chicken? Like, it's not like I was standing up. I was looking down. Like, how do you notice that shit? But apparently people saw me. Yeah. So now I'm famous.
Text it to me, please.
I will. I will. Jets are capable. Yeah, they are. Listen, if the Panthers can compete with the Browns, the Jets should be able to compete with the Browns at the end of the day. Now we're going to their home opener. Did you see the new stadium or the new midfield logo they're unveiling, Kyle? Or?
No. Please do share.
You're not with the times. It's like the old. Do you remember like the old Cleveland Brown like elf? Do you remember that or no?
I've probably seen it before.
Okay, well, it's like a big like elf looking thing in midfield. So. I don't know.
And that's what they're rolling with all year?
I guess so. I don't know. Receipts are fine now. Go win games. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I'm just trying to get to the top. Oh, I am already 30 minutes behind. So I'm going to run through this. Okay, let's see. 6 more wins and Salah will tie Gase's record. Yeah, at the end of the day, like, listen, we have all this talent. We stocked the roster. And like we agree with a lot of what Douglas has done. At this point, like the receipts thing, all this shit, this team is talented enough to win 6, 7, 8 games. Like if they win any less than 6 games, Kyle, I think heads are going to roll. Because I'm not accepting minus what we, obviously week 1 was a shit show, but like, have your expectations changed for this team? Like, should they still win at least? You said 7, 8 games. We're probably, well, maybe. I think I was more towards like 8 and 9, 7 and 10. Now I'm more towards like 7 and 10, 8 and 9. But like 6, 7 still at the absolute minimum. And I think 6 is still a really disappointing season, but not one where heads will necessarily roll. But has your expectations changed at all for this team? Because this team is a lot more talented than any of Gase's teams were. And Gase, I know there's a lot of fluky wins at the end of the year. They still won 7 fucking games that one year,
Yeah. No, my expectations, I think, are still about the same. Just because, like, hey, listen, like, part of the reason why we're a little down on the Jets right now is, they're struggling like on the offensive line with losing Becton, Fant still being like a little banged up, not having Dwayne Brown. But I mean, you can also, like, there are some other teams that have major injuries too. Like, we're going to go against a TJ Wattless Steelers in week 4. So, I mean, like, the Jets could win some games too that they're not expected to win as well. So,
yeah,
like, I don't want to say like, is it possible that they could upset the Bills in one of these games? Like, I don't see it happening. I really don't, but you never know. Like, shit happens in the NFL. So, I don't expect, and listen, the name of the game in the NFL is consistency. But I think that the Jets have a talented enough roster to, at least win somewhere in that range that we're talking about.
So Kyle, we might have figured it out because I had Chris ask about this. I also had G Antos ask about this, and Nikki Freed thinks it's dead pixels on my camera. Maybe it's not a scratch. Maybe it's dead pixels. I don't know what that means. But yes.
Yeah, I don't know what that means either.
Blitz BK, it was a pleasure meeting. Pleasure meeting you too. To be completely honest, Blitz, I don't remember which one you were. To be fair, though, I went over to Tyson's tailgate. I think I was there for 45 minutes, and we did 3 shotguns and 2 shots in 45 minutes. So we got after it. I don't know if you were there or in the stadium or you walked up to the tailgate. But please remind me who you were, because I'll remember faces. I don't remember necessarily. Oh, I'm Blitz BK, like 15 beers deep, or whatever it was. I don't necessarily remember. So. Let's see. Hopefully play. Yeah, need to play. Yeah, and like the thing with LaFleur too is I didn't necessarily. What do you think about LaFleur? Like, people criticize him not getting ahead of the sticks. I didn't love some of the deep concepts they were running, considering how bad the offensive line was, and they were running a lot of like deep shots, not necessarily giving it like quick outlets. So I didn't love LaFleur overall, but I don't think it was so bad to necessarily say like, it was a terrible game for him. I think it was more execution by the offensive line and the quarterback. Like I think if some of those plays hit, we're not really talking about LaFleur too much, to be honest.
Obviously, we know LaFleur calls the plays, but how much does he have over what personnel is being put out there on any given series or down? Because the main criticism I had with offense was personnel. I mean, like I tweeted it out pretty early in the game, like that it was a travesty that Braxton Berrios was playing that much more over Garrett Wilson. And the same could have been said for someone like Lawrence Cager. Right? For those of you in the chat that are thinking, well, Cager and Garrett Wilson don't even play the same position. Yeah, I know, but it's all about like, okay, you could roll with one less tight end and put one more receiver in. It's just you have to play to your strengths, and I understand that Garrett Wilson is still learning plays as any rookie would be, but the talent is undeniable. And sometimes you just got to let the young guys go out there and do their thing, and then they'll learn trial by error.
Yeah, for sure. And now past that, Kyle. I want to bring up this from Swolsey. Hot take: right side of the offensive line is better than the left side.
It was last Sunday.
Exactly. I was going to adjust that statement and say it was on Sunday. The thing I want to ask the chat though, because I can't, I don't want to look for it if it's not there. Does anybody know if the Mets are on right now? Can somebody answer that? Because I don't know. But somebody tell me that. I know somebody in the chat will respond. But Flacco should always be in shotgun. It's not a hot take. Okay. NJZ, stop scapegoating Flacco. Where are all of these backups who would do better with that O-line performance and that many unforced errors from his playmakers?
There's a good amount of blame to go for Flacco, and
there's a lot of good. There's a lot.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah,
but that type of shit poor performance from an offensive line really hurts someone with his skill set. He just can't move. He was
also very like there was times where he was hesitating to throw balls. There was times where like the one play Corey Davis, it was in the end zone, and he had outside leverage on a corner route, and he was open. Flacco didn't pull the trigger. There was a play to Conklin early in the game where he had the quick in over the middle, didn't throw the ball. He had plenty of plays where he didn't throw the ball where he should have, and there was plenty of plays where he should have checked it down where he didn't. There was plenty of immobility in the pocket. Flacco was absolutely brutal in this game too. Like there was plays I bring up, I'm like, what are you doing, bro? So it was a combination of Flacco being dog water with an offensive line, the left side of the offensive line, that was also dog water. So it was both, but to say that Flacco wasn't bad this game either, and to not ruin my show, but like I do the studs and the duds. The offensive line was number one dud because I had expectations for them to be better than they were, where I didn't expect a lot from Flacco. But Flacco and the offensive line both deserve like equal blame to me, because Flacco was terrible at points too. Like there was a play where Braxton Berrios, I forget exactly what the scenario was. It was like 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2, but they Corey Davis is in the slot and they motion Braxton Berrios into tight to Corey Davis to make it like a stack. Corey Davis pushes vertical. Braxton Berrios breaks to the flat where he has an open route to get a first down, and Flacco reads it, doesn't throw the ball, and then takes a sack. It's like, why didn't you throw the fucking ball? Like he's open. It's for third down. Like just throw the ball. So he was hesitant. He was bad, dude. He was terrible this game too. So we're not saying it's Flacco. We're not saying it's the O-line. It was a combination of both, plus maybe a little bit of play calling that literally led to the demise of this game. If you could average offensive line play and average quarterback play, the Jets could have easily played this game, but both were so bad. They made it a game where it was 3-24, late into the game, where they scored a garbage time touchdown where even on that throw, Flacco put it inside leverage. How many times did he miss fucking Garrett Wilson?
Dude, that could have been a pick if the defensive back played it better.
It's terrible. But he missed Garrett Wilson on the whip. Now there was times where and it sucked too. There's a play where I think it was Jeff Smith was open over the middle on a dig, and he's stepping up in the pocket and goes to hit Jeff Smith. He gets hit and he has to check it down. So there's plenty of the offensive line as well. But he missed the whip route. The fades to Garrett Wilson late in the game. outside shoulder and short was wide open. And based on how the DB was playing it, it's exactly where he would put it. Where did he put it? Vertical and inside. So his ball placement was terrible. His trigger was terrible. His accuracy was bad. The throw to Corey Davis was behind him. The throw to Elijah Moore on the sideline where people criticize Elijah Moore for dropping it. That ball.
It's a very tough ball to catch.
It's a tough ball to catch. Yeah. The ball had absolutely no velocity on it. It took 4 years to get there, and the ball was inside. It should have been to the outside. So Flacco was shit this game too. So if you're criticizing this game, and you're only putting on the offensive line or only putting on Flacco, I strongly encourage you to go watch the film show and then tell me how wrong I am about Flacco sucking some massive PP2. So come on.
Yeah, I mean, I feel weird, like kind of being in this position right now. It's like where, I kind of hyped him up because of that whole back and forth that we went with the whole top 25 thing. But yeah, he was really bad. And it's funny when you're talking about that throw to Elijah Moore, and I'm just thinking like, well, yeah, like Flacco has never had, that's kind of a little bit what I'm talking about when I said like, he's never had kind of that gun to like really zing things in there with like, a lot of zip when you really need it. But yeah. Yeah, no, Flacco, he was really bad, and he's definitely better than Mike White, though, guys. Come on. Those of you guys that are cheering for Mike White, and it was happening in your part of the stands, Joe. It was happening where I was.
Mike White.
I heard from some of the other guys who we tailgated with, who sat in a different part of the stadium. They heard the Mike White chants as well. So apparently this was something that was going on in many different parts of the stadium, but that is not the answer. And that's another thing. Okay, we want to talk about bad messaging from Salah and stuff like that. Why say,
Yeah.
we'll think about it, or whatever his exact wording was about a quarterback change. Like what good is that going to do? Like, are you really considering it? Like, really? Like after you and by the way, Salah did hype up Flacco a lot. I mean, he's like, every time like the media would ask about Joe Flacco, be like, you guys know what I think about Joe Flacco. I think the world of him. Yeah. Like he would just like, talk in this loving way about Joe Flacco. And then after one game, oh, now you're considering Mike White. I mean, like what?
Yeah, listen, at the end of the day, if Flacco really struggles this game, you put in Mike White, bad versus bad. Do I really care? No. It change of pace. Okay, I get it. The team rallied around Mike White. NJZ said he's going to take me up on it. He said he says he knows he missed some plays, but most QBs, even good starters, leave plays on the table. He did nice things also, but everyone is only focusing on the negative. And I was going to highlight it, but I don't want to scroll all the way down. Yes, but 90% of his game was bad. He was terrible. They were when you have a combination of the offensive line playing like shit and a quarterback who's playing like shit, it's just shit. So they were both terrible. Like there's a reason why the offensive line was my number one dud of the game and Flacco was my 2. They were both piss poor. Flacco was bad, very bad. Did he make some plays? Sure. More expected, but his lack of trigger, his lack of accuracy, his lack of drive on the ball, he was really, really poor too. So I don't think you say.
I'm trying to think like what nice throws did he have, and some of the throws that were sticking out to me that I was like, I guess somewhat impressed with. And really, honestly, I shouldn't be that impressed with these types of throws. Like some of his best passes were like when they would do like a jet motion, and the guy who they just put in jet motion, he would throw it to him in the flat, right? Like, and he would hit the guy like in stride to keep him running, like whether it was Barrios or somebody else. And like, that's not really that hard of a throw, but Zach Wilson fucked up on those types of throws a lot last year.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason that's really sticking out in my mind. Like, did he have like any nice, like, in breaking routes, like on mid-level digs or something like that to like Corey Davis? I mean, like, I guess, but I'm trying to think of what tight window throws did he have? He didn't really have any really nice downfield throws.
Throw I could think of, and I talked about it in the review, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, was the throw that he threw to like Corey Davis's back shoulder and low, because the safety was driving down. That's about it. Dude, he was terrible. How many plays? Like the play to Corey Davis. There's one play in the red zone where I don't know exactly what it was. It was some type of smash concept where Jeff Smith is running the corner. He literally drops back and right off the jump, as soon as he gets the ball, he just starts drifting in the pocket, just backpedaling. Like there's nobody, which I get is a part of the offensive line.
Oh yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
Jeff Smith is wide open for a touchdown, wide open. Doesn't throw the ball to Jeff Smith, and then he tries to throw it to Corey Davis and completely misses Corey Davis, where Corey Davis had inside leverage on a safety, and he could have at least given him a chance to, or safety or corner, could have at least given him a chance to go up and get the ball, completely misses him. So Flacco played like balls too. Like he was staring at Jeff Smith, who had like 5 yards of separation, didn't throw the ball. So, and this is not this ticky-tacky bullshit, which not ticky-tacky bullshit, just stupid bullshit, where a lot of people will like, they'll take a screenshot of like the high view and be like, oh, this guy was wide open. Why didn't he throw it to him? It's like, dude, he was reading the left side of the field. He didn't see the guy on the right. Like, that's expected. But actually getting into it, he played like shit. So it just is what it is. But the point that Spooner made about, which by the way, welcome back, Rusty. I haven't seen you in a little bit since the draft, I don't think. But nonetheless, there was a few plays where I thought they missed some hold calls on the Ravens. There's one play I highlight specifically in the review where Linderbaum literally has Nathan Shepard like by the neck, and like Trevor's trying to run by, he's literally like getting held, and they don't call it, and the ref's standing right there. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? So I think the refs were a little bit sketchy this game, but that's what a lot of people say. So
welcome to the NFL, Linderbaum. He didn't play great.
Yeah, he got rocked a lot of times in that game. Q rocked him, which is good. Like,
oh yeah, yeah.
You know,
I expected that. I truthfully expected that.
A little bit different test with the Browns and with the Jets, and overall which we talk about the run defense, which was great. You know, off the top of my head, 61 rushes for 63 yards, which is the lowest the Ravens have had since Lamar Jackson's been playing quarterback for them, which is obviously a great number. Now, with that being said, a lot of the runs were to the outside and just kind of like wide tracks. Do I think that the Jets' run defense problems are solved? Maybe, but is the Browns with a lot more traditional running team more of a test? Yes, because I think if anything, the Jets' speed and pursuit to the ball is more favorable to more outside running, where the Browns, the teams are going to run up the middle, the teams who are more gritty and just going to attack you, kind of mano a mano. I'm more concerned with the Browns rushing game than I am the Ravens. Even though the Ravens was scary, but I don't think that it's like answered yet where you could say, okay, they're going to be able to shut down the Pats, and these teams are running like traps and whams and ISO and inside zone. Like, that's still yet to be seen. So I would chill a little bit on the run defense is fixed. But with that being said, they balled out, and they literally held the Ravens to their lowest rushing total in 5 years. So
yeah. And again, take it with a grain of salt. No Dobbins, no Gus Edwards. I almost feel like I keep thinking in my head, and I haven't really seen that this is the case, that apparently Lamar gained all this weight in the offseason, and obviously he had the much reported on contract dispute. I almost feel like part of the reason Lamar put on some of that weight is to be able to take hits, and knowing that he's going to maybe run less at this point in his career and maybe try to develop more into a passer.
He didn't look good either. Like he missed a couple of throws which were pretty open. But continue if you're going to continue. Sorry.
Yeah. So my point is, like, I think that, there might be kind of a understanding between both him and the Ravens staff that, okay, we got to kind of preserve Lamar a little bit more, and he's getting older now, and we can put maybe more on his plate as a passer, and we got to start running him less. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's probably part of it too, but I mean, dude, Kenyon Drake was getting most of their carries and stuff. And I mean, who's Kenyon Drake? Was Kenyon Drake, right? I mean, like, I couldn't think of any other Drake.
Kenyon Drake. He's better than Duke Johnson. We couldn't shut down Duke Johnson. So that's a positive.
Yeah. And that offensive line wasn't even good last year. That was an absolute travesty. But yeah, I'm more concerned. I mean, listen, the Browns got absolute 2 studs at running back. And the idea that running backs don't matter. I mean, running backs are more or less replaceable and they don't last long. So I get the whole running backs don't matter thing, but
Chubb matters. Chubb matters.
And so does Hunt. And the both of them combined keep them fresh and
with a good offensive line to run behind.
Correct. And yeah, I mean, like the Browns, like I was looking at their depth chart, and I'm sure we'll pull it up at some point. What was the name of their center that recently retired?
The Browns? Or about is it Treader? JC Treader?
I believe so.
Treader?
Yeah, now they got Pochit. Now they have Ethan Pochitz, right? Or Posich, however you pronounce his name. So, I mean, that's a little bit of a loss for them, but I mean, they still have a pretty solid line top to bottom. I'm wondering, I mean, we both really like Jedrick Wills and really had him as offensive tackle number 1. We really wanted him to make it one more pick so that he could go to the Jets. And it seemed like, based off reports that we heard, that Joe Douglas was a little bit higher on him. I'm wondering how he's developed, though, because it doesn't seem like he's kind of hit his
He's
potential
not a
yet
stud,
either.
yeah. And I heard he struggled this first game too, which I'd be curious to watch why. But nonetheless,
But there are still
Frankie,
some maulers on that offensive line, and so yeah,
they're
it,
good,
it
yeah.
is to be concerned. But the big difference in this game is you don't really have the threat of a running quarterback now because Jacoby Brissett cannot move.
No,
He's stiff. He's stiff back there as well. He's a little bit more mobile than Flacco,
I'm
but
gonna say
that's not saying much.
Yeah, me with a broken leg is more. I can move better than Flacco, but I'll let you take this one, Kyle. Which we appreciate the $2 super chat from Frankie. Salah will bounce back or lose the team. What do you think?
I think it's way too early for him to lose the team. So I think he'll bounce back. The question is how long can he keep that consistent? And it's not all on him. I mean, like a large, he's definitely a big part of Zach Wilson's development and stuff too, but it's easier for Salah to bounce back and have a successful season and have the players buy in and stuff when you're winning games. And it's way easier to win games when the quarterback is playing well. So,
Yeah.
the NFL it's a lot about luck too,
Okay.
but I think he'll bounce back.
We're going to fly through the next 25 minutes. We can get to the game and then get to the Browns game a little bit. Snoopy snorted some Coke. What's up, Jets family? With the angry face emojis. He's excited for I don't know what reason. But we appreciate you. We love you too, Snoopy. Somebody talks about, or people talk about Tony Adams versus Parks. Me personally, I'd rather see Tony Adams than Parks. I would. He had a better preseason than Parks pretty easily.
Tony Adams is like 22, 23. Parks is 29. Come on.
Yeah, and not very good.
And yeah, and like, okay, so Parks plays really conservative as a safety. Okay. Versus Tony Adams, like, you see some upside there.
Is it that bad? Is the widow peak just that noticetional? Like
it's very noticeable, Joe. And
right.
you were kind of saying there's nothing you could do about it. I'm telling you,
like
I don't know how often you get your haircut. It doesn't feel like what do you do? Like, are you a once every 2-3 week guy? Don't tell me you're once a month.
Like once every 3-4 weeks. I'm not. I don't really give a shit what I look like. I have a wife, so we're fine.
Okay. Well, I don't. Yeah, 3-4 weeks.
Dude, I'm shaving it. I'm shaving it. And it's still there.
That's going a little long, especially when you have your hair so short. If you let it grow out a month, it's definitely not going to look fresh.
It's still there. It is. Oh, I will shave my head to a 0, and you'll see how stupid it grows back in.
Yeah, but I'm telling you though, if your barber uses a straight razor for that, especially for that first week, you're barely going to see that widow's peak.
But then this gets
second
long,
week going,
and then this is short. It looks like I'm an idiot. So you can't do it. You know what? Appreciate it. I rock that so people can notice me on TV when I'm looking down eating chicken. It's perfect. So let's see.
You say that, but you weren't very happy 30 minutes ago when you were bringing up the chicken thing. You wished that it didn't happen.
Oh, I don't care, dude. I was hammered at the game. It is what it is. Blue. I am a Mets fan. They just got swept by the Cubs, which is terrible. But I think Aaron Judge has like 4 or 5 home runs to break the record, right? Something like that. But yes, Anthony.
But he's that close to breaking Barry Bonds' record.
Yeah, the home run record. Yeah, I think he has 70 because he has 76 and it's like 81 or something like that. I'm not the biggest baseball guy, so don't kill me. But it's something like that. He's pretty close. I'm gonna keep moving on. I'm like 10 minutes behind, and we'll get into. Do we have anything else to add about Flacco? Like he was bad in the pocket. There was consistently times where I forget exactly what the route combination was, but like there's a play where Max Mitchell's a little bit late to get to the right side, and there's pressure coming off the right side, but the entire time Flacco was literally running backwards like a fucking idiot, and he could have stepped up and hit a wide open whoever it was. I forget exactly what the play was, but his pocket awareness was bad. His movement in the pocket was bad. His lack of trigger was bad. His accuracy was bad. He was just bad. Right? Like, is there anything else to add other than he was absolute dog shit? Like, I don't like. We can go through specific plays, which I have, but missed Garrett Wilson multiple times on fades. Missed Garrett Wilson on the whip route. If he didn't check the ball down so quick,
there was one fade route where Garrett Wilson really got stood up by the defensive back. Defensive back played it well and really jammed the shit out of him, and he was late to getting to the spot he wanted. So I think you can kind of blame some of that on Wilson. I think that was the second fade ball in the end zone, if I'm not mistaken. But listen, I don't really have anything positive to say about Flacco in this game. I mean, like I was struggling to think of something he did well.
No, like even in terms of like reading leverages and like holding onto the ball, it was bad. holding on to the ball, not holding on to the ball enough. There was nothing that was good.
I mean, going back to the interception again, too, not only does the ball need to be low, but he needs to hang it more inside because at the time,
he floated up way too much.
it was the ball was way too high and it was way too inside when the safety had inside leverage. So, I mean, you're talking about one of the worst places you could put that ball. He put it there. So, and the NFL is always a combination of things, to not only get an interception, but an interception that was returned for many yards, potentially almost, it was almost it was close to being pick six. A lot of things happened badly on that play. And, Cager falling, and it was just a really bad throw for a variety of reasons from Flacco.
I think if Flacco didn't end up, I think if Cager didn't end up slipping on that play, it probably would have been like a ball where he's obviously like a little bit of a hospital ball, throwing it high and exposing his ribs. But I think it would have been a contested catch for probably no completion. But obviously, you don't want Cager to fall there. There's some talk in the chat about, I don't know if it's Mike White being mobile or not. He is not mobile, and his delivery is the slowest thing I've ever seen in my life.
What do you think? Listen,
what's up, Meatball?
This is like asking, I'm trying to think of whatever. I can't think of a good analogy. Who do you think's more mobile, Flacco or Mike White? That's a tough question.
It has to be Mike White. It has to. Flacco was dreadfully slow in that game. It was
Mike
brutal.
White is really slow too, man. Dude, there isn't much separation there, whoever it is. And it should be Mike White. He's a lot younger than Flacco.
Yeah. It's just like, and the thing with Flacco too is like, you'd expect like the smart decision making and all that stuff. His decision making was balls too. Like nothing was good. It wasn't like that veteran savvy. Like it was just bad.
And can we be fair? Even the year Flacco won Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP, he never was an above average starter. I don't think in any given year. He won a lot of games, no doubt about it. But he played for a great organization, had really solid offensive lines, really solid defenses for all those years. So, serviceable, but good. No.
So by the way, the comment on the screen right here from
saw that one.
Nicky Free.
Yeah, I am rethinking it. I can be stubborn in some ways, but I also like to think that I'm pretty open-minded. Listen, a big part of the reason why I put him where I put him in the top 25 was thinking, what he did in those games when Adam Gase was coaching him with a much less talented, roster. And also thinking like, he's a guy who's, listen, I know I said he's never been a good starter, but he was a starter for a long time. And I don't think, listen, some people are saying he's washed and stuff. I'm sure he's lost a little bit of his talent or whatever, but I still think he's kind of what he was the majority of his career. I don't think he's lost too much in terms of talent. I really don't.
No,
but he's never been great.
No, I think like at best he was in that 12 to 15, 10 to 15, like Kirk Cousins with a better arm type quarterback. I don't think he's ever top 5 elite quarterback.
I don't think he's ever been as good as Kirk Cousins.
Like the whole, again, I'm just trying to quantify middle tier, a little bit upper middle tier quarterback. I don't think Joe Flacco, the whole is Joe Flacco elite comment. No, he was never elite.
He was nowhere close.
Minus the playoff run, which I'm sure people are going to bring up. Just like Eli Manning, he was good during the playoff run, but not necessarily consistently. But yeah, for those couple of games, sure.
We can move on from talking about him.
Nick Foles was good. But I just brought this up. Do you have any idea what this means from Chris? Chris, you have to clarify. You guys should have one more mic on this podcast. She just leave the chicken sandwich in front of a microphone. I
have no idea what he's talking about.
I don't know. I don't know.
He might be pretty hammered himself because he had an earlier comment where he had a spelling error and stuff. So he might be
Chris, are you
feeling good.
Okay, I'm also drinking a little bit. So, Al has some weird takes, man.
Why? So what's the weird take now that's saying that Kirk Cousins is better than Joe Flacco?
Yeah, I think Flacco was in that 10 to 15 range. That's where I felt he was. But again, that was in 2012.
I think you can definitely say that Kirk Cousins has been for a long time as a starter. He's been above average, whereas Flacco has been pretty average, even to below average some years. And I mean, like,
he's talking about specifically when he's on the Ravens and actually competing as a legit starter. Not now, or not with the Broncos, or not with the. Obviously now he's
okay. Look. Some people buy way too much into QB wins and stuff. I mean, like, the whole thing with QB wins is, listen, quarterback is obviously by far the most valuable position in all of sports. But I mean, like, can we think about some of the players that have won Super Bowls, right? I mean, like, a lot of times it's just like, what's the other team around you, and what's the coaching like and stuff. Listen, Kirk Cousins, you're not going to hear me say he's top 10. You're not going to hear me say he's elite, but he's definitely above average. And I don't know that Flacco, I mean, like, maybe in some given years you could say he's maybe above average, but I think he's been like pretty average-ish and definitely below average some years, right? Like, he's always had really high completion percentages. He's had really high seasons where he's had high yards per attempt. He's always had low interception numbers. His touchdown numbers have always been, like, higher than Flacco's. So now you could say that Kirk has had some pretty good receivers to throw to in his years with Minnesota, Thielen and Diggs, and now Justin Jefferson. Okay, I get that. But what about when he was with Washington, right?
So,
one of his first full years as a starter, he was tossing 8-something yards per attempt. Joe Flacco, I don't think has ever in his entire career come anywhere near 8 yards per attempt.
So Kyle.
Yeah, you can say my takes. You can say my take's weird, but I fucking just backed it up. Now, what are you gonna have to back up? What are you talking about?
Kyle, by the way, the thing that's funny too is we had a comment on one of the other streams, right? And I forget exactly what the guy said. Whoever he was as a douche, he's like, what did he say? Something like, these guys had no idea what they're talking about. And then Kyle comments back, what specifically don't we know what you're talking about? God never comments back. I'm like, yep, that's usually what happens. Nonetheless.
Yeah, and this dude just said, like, he's like, you're crazy. Okay, that's not an argument.
No,
man.
and
So,
I don't want to.
okay.
The thing with this is young Stench. Flacco won a Super Bowl in his prime. So did Trent Dilfer, and so did Nick Foles. So, like, we can't rely on that. The dog does love me. Yes, I love my dog. The bug on my wall. It's not a bug. It is a screen.
Yeah, and the whole Nick Foles Super Bowl, that was 5 years ago. He's not even starting anywhere now.
Let's go for the next topic. Quarterback, we talked about it. Joe Flacco, dog water, better than Kirk Cousins. Nonetheless, running backs, Kyle. We don't have to run. No, we don't have to run through this. What'd you think about Michael Carter and Breece Hall, both individually?
I was a little bit disappointed in Breece. I mean, you see some of the talent. The one play where, he catches and runs down the sideline towards the end of the game. You can kind of see some of the speed. He kind of almost broke away there. Defender barely caught him by the ankles. Listen, fumbles, that shit happens. I don't think he fumbled a lot when he was in college. He claims that he didn't.
3 times and 800 plus carries.
Yeah.
But with that being said, you don't have Chuck Clark trying to punch a ball out, because you can see Clark, and I can't say he necessarily sees the ball, but the thing is that Breece Hall has to realize is he's not necessarily the biggest, baddest dog out there. When you're falling forward for extra yardage, you have to wrap up that ball with 2 arms. And on that play, he somehow he gets to the point where he's backpedaling, and he's like trying to fall forward for extra yards, and the ball is loosey goosey out there with only one hand on it. He has to wrap it up, because you can see Clark load up to punch the shit out of that. He punches shit out of it, and it's a fumble. So yeah, he only had 3 fumbles in 800 reps at Iowa State. This ain't Iowa State. This is the NFL. So you got to wrap up.
Yeah. Michael Carter, he kind of looked like Cincinnati Bengals. Michael Carter, man,
he's good, bro.
Carter's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So the only thing I will say, so Breece Hall, I wouldn't say negative or positive. The fumble kind of puts him into the negative. He's starting to he bounces runs a little bit too much for me right now. Michael Carter, the pass protection wasn't always good from Carter. I would say his pass protection was slightly a negative. And then past that, he breaks tackles pretty frequently. The one run where he's running to the sideline, decides to cut it outside, breaks a tackle with a guy literally falling on his back and his body's contorted in the most weird fucking way I've ever seen in my life, and he still runs forward for an extra 3 yards. Is ridiculous. Not the best decision from Carter, but nonetheless, Carter was very impressive, minus some pass pro reps overall, and obviously a massive drop touchdown. Well, not massive. We were down like 24-3 at that point, but nonetheless, drop touchdown, some miscues in pass pro. So it wasn't an elite game from Carter, but it was still very good. And again, Breece was if anything, kind of average, but him fumbling that ball puts him
That
towards more
drop
of a
pass
negative.
that he had too early in the game
It
on
was
a little
high. It
screen.
was high, but still you want to see him catch it. It was
High ball,
more like
hit
a
him in both
fingertip
the
catch.
hands. I mean,
Yeah,
catch the ball.
yes. I talk about it in the stream. I'm from a little bit different with thinking. When it's raining out and it just hits your fingertips, should you catch that ball? I wouldn't say yes. I would say anywhere but like below like this point of your hand, catch it.
If you're an NFL offensive player, you should catch it.
I don't know.
He
We'll
didn't even
talk
have
about
a.
that a little
It's not like a defender hit him as he was catching it either. So
I would say Brees was more negative than positive. And again, Carter, he had some miscues in pass pro. There's a play where he's I think it's a 2-jet protection where he hits the center to left tackle goes left, right guard to right tackle goes right, and he fills the middle. And he was way too late in recognizing a blitz up the middle. And it forced Joe Flacco to move. So pass protection was sketchy from Michael Carter, but overall he ran the ball really well. Dude, the guy, there's some stat out there like he broke like the second most tackles in the NFL, only like second to Nick Chubb, and Chubb had like 2 times the carry as Carter does. Carter's fucking good, bro. Like people really like kind of like put him to the side when we drafted Brees. Like, oh, Brees is so much better on shit. And I said like I think it's.
And we're guilty of it. We're guilty of it too.
But in my defense, I said Brees Hall 50% of the snaps, Carter 35. So it's not. It's people are thinking like 90-10 out there. Like there's people thinking like legitimately that Carter was just an afterthought. Carter's good, and Carter is better than Brees Hall right now. Could Brees Hall be better in the future? Yeah. But Carter played well, minus again, the pass protection and the drop. Brees was more of a negative than a positive. It's his first NFL game. Moving to the tight ends, Kyle. What do you think about the tight end group overall?
I wish I could have like a bigger opinion on that because I just really didn't like how they were used. I would have liked to see more of a variety of routes from them, and more of a concerted effort to throw the ball to them. What percentage did they roll out in 12 personnel with both Uzama and Conklin? Do you know?
It could have been a lot because Uzama only played like 20 something snaps out of 79, so not a lot.
Yeah, so I was hoping to see more of that. I mean, and did they ever go 12 when they had Cager on the field? I mean, like, what's the deal with that? I'm trying to think.
This is not true, Daniel, by the way. Brees is not trash. It was one game. Brees is still very good, but continue.
Yeah, definitely not trash. In terms of, there was a couple times in pass pro where I was not as impressed as I was watching his tape from last year with Conklin. He definitely got beat up not a lot, but a couple times in pass pro. In terms of Uzama, I'm trying to really think of his blocking. And a couple times when they ran a lot of, especially in the first half of the game, they ran a lot of these outside mid zone plays where you have the guy in motion, and instead of like doing the split zone where at the beginning of the snap he's going over to the other side, but he's in motion and he's going to block. They ran that a ton at the beginning of the game.
They did a couple of wrinkles with a counter instead of like the counter OF where both the guard and the tight end start from the opposite side. They did a lot of motioning where it was Conklin, or I think it was mostly Conklin. Conklin would start in motion, kick out, and then the guard was leading. So it was almost they put a couple of wrinkles to counter in this game with the tight ends that I liked. But overall, I didn't love.
I would have liked to see a little bit more movement though when they made contact with the defenders. I didn't see a ton.
Yeah. So I think Conklin was up and down, like a few good pass per reps, a few bad, a few good run blocking reps, a few bad. To be fair though, with a Conklin, like you can't expect him necessarily to block a defensive end on a 7-step drop and say it was a bad play for him. That's a hard play for any tight end. But yeah, Uzama wasn't used much. Conklin I thought was fine. Obviously the fumble is you got to hold on to the ball, so that's a negative for him. But I thought he was okay. And there were some times he was open where he wasn't hit. Harold says stop with the Brees stuff. He was fine. He was off balance. That's why the ball was away from his frame. Yes, when you're off balance though, Harold, you have to wrap. You have to put two hands on the ball. That's consistently with NFL running backs. You see them when they're off balance and falling, or trying to turn forward for extra yards when you're off balance. There's 2 hands on the ball and they fall to the ground. So you can't just say, oh, him holding the ball out like this because he's off balance is fine. You have to wrap 2 hands around the ball. You can't make excuses for him. So that's not an excuse that he's off balance. It's not. And he's been bouncing runs a little bit to the outside, but Carter is better right now than Hall. Is Hall going to be the better running back?
I mean, that could
time?
change.
Yeah.
That can change in like a month. I mean,
It can
you know,
change
Brees
next
is still
week.
getting used to the speed of the NFL.
Yeah.
Right,
Carter
like-
it's the better guy, right? You're taking one guy on a run right now. It's Carter over Brees, but Brees
What
has
did
plenty of time to
what did
adjust.
Carter's first month look like last year? What week did we play the Bengals? What week was that? Do you remember last year?
Young, your argument. I didn't say who. I'm saying Carter is the better back right now. Carter was better in the preseason. Carter was better in week 1 than Brees Hall. Brees Hall will be the better running back. I'm just saying people were discrediting Carter. But it's not like has Brees looked amazing? What great plays has Brees Hall made so far?
I mean, dude, not even like in any preseason game. I mean, he looked good in practice. Like when they had the joint practice with the Falcons, you know, his 75-yard touchdown, he looked really impressive on that play. But in terms of like, you know, actual games that we've seen so far, including the preseason, you know, we're not seeing everything yet, but I'm really not that worried. Like, even though running backs have probably out of all, you know, major positions in the NFL, have like the least steep learning curve, they still have a learning curve. And part of that is getting used to the speed of the NFL. And Brees Hall did play in the Big 12, which is known for its piss poor defenses. And if you have piss poor defenses, you have slower players, not running fast as 40s and things like that. So, you know, as fast as Brees is, he didn't go against the most fast college competition. Now he's going into the NFL. It's going to take him a little while to get used to that game speed.
Different. You can't just bounce runs to the outside, you know, in the NFL. But Daniel say Brees' trash, his highlights in college are literally running through open holes from his dominant line. You are clueless. It's not a take. It's facts. Go watch his college tape. Daniel, guess what, buddy? I have 2 hours of film that's broken down. Go watch the fucking film that I put out, you fucking idiot. Like, people are so dumb. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is not a show to go watch the film. I fucking watch the film. That's all I do. That's all we do. Watch the film. I hate that shit. Watch the film. Like, go to 10 other live streams. You can say that. You cannot say that to us. So
it's funny when he's telling you to watch the film. It's like, okay, I have, and here's my arguments. Now, here's the thing, Joe. If he were to watch,
can I just kind of continue with that? But like us criticizing Brees for one bad game is not saying we're trash. We like Brees Hall. He did not play well last game, and he didn't play good. He played average. But continue.
It's just funny with some of these guys, Young Stench and Daniel C. Daniel C's called you out on several occasions, and right at the beginning of the show,
not your friend.
Young Stench. Okay, yeah. Well, he's called me out a couple times, and he even said that Daniel C's tripping. So apparently, everyone's this is what losing does. It makes people hate each other, and I assume that we're all Jets fans here. I assume, but the thing about making an argument, Joe, is you have the evidence to back up why you think Brees Hall is a good player. And you've put out 2+ hours worth of film on it. Now, if somebody wants to argue with you there, okay, tell me why I'm wrong with my analysis on this given play. You can't just say, oh, well, you're an idiot. You know, the only reason he was good is because of this, you know, good O-line in college. It's like, well, you know.
And then
be a little bit more specific.
And then he'll get 100 yards next week. But I always love Brees Hall. Facts, bro. You're tripping, bro. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Brees was great in college. There's a reason he was as high as a pick as he was. Again, it's all out there. So, so let's see. Nonetheless, okay. Let's move to
Daniel Murphy. I don't even know that anybody off that Iowa State O-line was drafted.
Dominant Alabama line he was running behind. Like, what are we talking? He had a touchdown in like 28 games straight, like breaking college records. Like, what are we talking about? But I like Young Stetch.
You know, like what about like
I don't like
know,
Daniel now though.
What about some of these plays where you know he's shaking like 4 or 5 dudes in one play? Is that because of his good offensive line?
Dude,
he
made some of the most.
You've pulled up at that play a couple times on live streams, but yeah, that's all because of a good offensive line.
He makes ridiculous cuts, dude. Like his athletic ability is absurd. Now, do I think his vision's elite? No, I don't think he has elite vision. I think he has to work on that. And Harold seems to think that him fumbling the ball is okay because he's off balance, which people are off balance all the time. Harold, I'm going to disagree with you that all the time because I see plenty of running backs going to fall down and wrap the ball up. But nonetheless, let's move forward. Let's go to we talk about tight ends, we talk about running backs, we talk about the quarterbacks. We can't criticize anybody. Receivers, Joe Cat, this team stinks, guys. Still the same crap. I got a whole closet of receipts and jerseys for him. 2 can be cashed in, Corbett and Martin. Yeah.
So today's receipts day. Everyone's talking about receipts.
Day. Dude, I listen, joke at if you're a big Jets fan, I got some bad fucking jerseys in my closet too. You got Calvin Pryor, Leonard Williams was okay. He's gone. I got Sam Darnold, multiple colors. We have
multiple
Jesus
colors. Wow.
Christ. Yeah, I think I have Darnold black and Darnold like when he got drafted, a white or a green or whatever. So yeah, no, we need better play. So let's move to the receivers because Snoopy is asking about Garrett Wilson and his lack of usage. What do you think about the group overall? I'm going to run to the men's room, but I want you to talk about the receivers. I can hear you, Kyle. I just can't talk.
Okay. The receivers, what else is to be said? Garrett Wilson should have been playing. I mean, listen, they started moving the ball at the end of the game, and part of that is because at the end of the game, the Ravens were going to give the Jets anything they wanted inside. They just didn't want to give them any outbreaking routes to stop the clock. So part of the Jets moving the ball towards the end of the game is just kind of garbage time production that you always see, right? Where it's just the ticking game, getting rid of the clock. So, but with that being said, there is something to the Jets moving the ball more when Garrett Wilson was in. Even when he was in earlier in the game, he was, making some plays and getting open. And you just see the level of talent that you can't teach. And one of the things that I talked about that I wish I saw more from him in his time at Ohio State is seeing him with the ball in his hands more. And I like that the Jets threw him a screen. And if George Fant didn't whiff on that block, I'm not saying Garrett Wilson gets in the end zone, but, we're talking maybe an extra 5-10 yards easily, I would think. But yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of unacceptable that they played him as little as they did in the first half. I'll say that, listen, I've pretty much said that Barrios is pretty much just a returner and doesn't really give you much as a receiver. Not that he did anything too crazy to impress me as a receiver in this game, but I'll say that I was a little bit impressed. I got more out of Barrios than what I was expecting in this game. And I guess he kind of showed you that in spots he can come in and do some things. But with that being said, he should not be playing over 50% of the snaps in comparison to Garrett Wilson, even if Wilson is still learning the playbook.
Which people are talking about Mo. I have a Mo Wilkerson jersey as well. But and a Mims jersey. Or no, do I have him? No, I don't have Mims, thank God. But yeah, with the receivers, so I think Elijah Moore was fine. There was a couple plays where I want to see him attack the ball a little bit more than he does, but overall, I thought he was pretty good. And listen, the fact that he's 4 receptions for 50 yards, and we're saying, kind of an okay game for Elijah Moore. I still think he is that legit number one. And we saw him go ISO a couple times on key third.
I do want to see him run tougher routes when he's not a part of, the main part of the route concept. Sometimes when Flacco's reading to the one side where the play is designed to go, you see him, especially towards the end of the game, where he takes plays off. And listen, even if he's not getting the ball, you have to make the defense believe that you are getting the ball. Did you notice that too with Elijah Moore? Towards the end of the game where he would just, when.
No, I wasn't watching him enough to say specifically.
I'm not saying it happened a lot, but I noticed it probably on at least 2 different plays. Hey, listen, did you see this with Corey Davis too?
Yeah.
It's been a while. We're talking a year and a half since I, watched your film review of him with his Titans film. But one of the and it's been a long time since I watched him in a Jets uniform because he missed, the second half of the season or whatever it was. But one thing that kind of impressed me about him this game was I forgot about, his pacing in routes, and he has an ability, he's kind of have deceptive speed, Corey Davis. He's definitely, I would not call him fast, but when he wants to turn it on, he can turn it on and move. And I really like the way he paces his routes. And it's kind of something which I'm sure you highlighted as a strength when you talked about strengths and weaknesses, but I'd almost forgotten. But that's kind of a nice aspect to his game that I kind of forgot about.
Yeah, I'm hitting on receivers in totality. And Harold, you're saying who says a fumble is okay? That's not cool, Joe. I don't say that to you. You a little foul. You're Harold,
Wait, can you put that back up?
The
Okay.
thing is, you're justifying him fumbling, saying that he was off balance. A fumble in any situation is not okay. So whether he be off balance, tripping, anything like that, in that situation, he needs to put two hands on the ball. You watch the replay in slow motion. He's backpedaling, and he has the ball out like this. It's one, it's in tight. He doesn't have all 3-4 points of contact, and two, when you know you're about to get tackled in traffic, you have to put two hands on the ball. So I'm not saying a fumble is okay. I'm not saying you're saying a fumble is okay. I'm saying that fumble in that situation is not okay. So I'm saying that you're justifying a fumble, or you're saying it's okay in a situation where it was not okay. I'm not saying every fumble is okay. So I don't know what you're talking about with that play, but nonetheless, the receivers, Garrett Wilson was my number 3 stud of the game. I'll give that away. Garrett Wilson was very, very good this game. They should have played him more. They didn't. His body control is absurd. Elijah Moore was fine. I want to see him diversify his. There's a lot of like gather steps and a lot of hesitation at the line. I want to see him improve a little bit on press. I don't think he's great versus press yet, and that was one of the
definitely not great versus press yet.
That was one of the questions I had, going back to the review at Ole Miss, was he didn't really play press a lot. So how is he going to play it? He's not great versus press yet. Now Corey Davis, listen, he had the drop. Am I justifying drops? Just like Harold is justifying fumbles. No, I'm just trying to piss you off. The drop, it's not acceptable. He has to catch that ball. Big third down. The ball was kind of in that gray zone where it's like, do you catch it underhand? Do you catch it overhand? And he didn't look the ball fully in. It's raining. I don't ever want to fully justify it, understand the situation. Minus the drop, Corey Davis was pretty fucking good this game. He was. And he had 6 receptions for 77 yards. He also had a play where he forced the hold that negated a sack the Jets had. And he had that play where I talked about where they ran it, whatever the variation of smash concept was, where he was running a corner route, had outside leverage on the DB, could have been an easy ball for potentially a touchdown. Joe Flacco doesn't throw it. Here's another ball where, again, Joe Flacco missed Jeff Smith wide open on a corner route. You have Corey Davis, who whichever route or whatever route he ran, I don't know. He was inside leverage on a DB, could have caught a touchdown. So Corey Davis minus a drop, which is obviously a problem for him. I'll excuse it a tiny bit because of the location and because of the rain, but at the same time, you still need to catch that ball. Minus that, Corey Davis was good. So I really thought that all the receivers had a pretty good game this game. Now, do I love the concepts they were used on, etc.? No, but Wilson, awesome first game for me. Elijah Moore, I want to see him be a little bit more involved, and maybe catch that ball on the sideline they didn't catch, even though it's a really tough catch. And then Corey Davis minus the drop again. Everybody's going to shit on Corey Davis, but Corey Davis was very, very good. Or not very, very good. He was at least.
I'd say the guys in the stands, they were shitting on Corey Davis. Corey Davis, what a bust of a signing, paying him all that money. He was a little bit disappointing last year, but I'm still very happy with that signing and what I saw week 1. I kind of expected to see what I saw from Wilson. Maybe it was a little bit disappointing in Elijah Moore from what I saw yesterday, or this past Sunday. But I think you could definitely make an argument that Corey Davis was the best receiver this past Sunday. I don't know if you agree with that. Yeah, would you make that argument? He's valuable to have in this offense.
Can we if we eliminate that drop, can I say it definitively? He's the best receiver. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the drop drags him down. But like Joe was saying, Garrett was legitimately, like, this is not even just based on stats. Like, he got open too, where he wasn't targeted. Where I legitimately enjoyed Garrett Wilson playing. Like, he looked like a top 10 pick this game. Like, he looked good.
They need to keep feeding him, man. You don't draft him 10th overall when you have an opportunity to get guys like AJ Brown and, why the hell am I forgetting his name? 49ers wide receiver. You had an opportunity to get Deebo Samuel. You have an opportunity to get guys like this. And granted, there's some concerns with injuries with both of them and the contract. So there's a part of me that gets why you didn't go for those guys. But you decided to go with Wilson at 10 because you believe in him. You firmly believe in him. You got to play him. And after what you saw, dude, the Jets want to go out and, we lost. We weren't beat. Okay. You got to change stuff up when it's not working. Whatever game plan you had, running all that 13 personnel, putting Lawrence Cager on the field, you got to throw the ball more, and you have to have Garrett Wilson out there to do it. Yeah.
Daniel, the only thing I whatever you sent me, I don't know how to read this. Like, I don't know what the 2, the 4, and the 36 are, but I hope you can clear that up for me. But yeah, I don't know, but I appreciate it, Daniel. Just clarify whatever that stat means. Moving on from the receivers, Kyle. Again, I thought they all played really, really well. And in terms of Elijah Moore, he's like they targeted him when it was the money downs, and for the most part, he won on those money downs. Again, Wilson was great. Corey Davis minus the drop was also good. People are gonna shit on him because they'll remember the one drop, but the other 6, 7, 8 routes they ran that were really good, and got open and caught the ball in tough situations were also, which, by the way, both Corey Davis and Garrett Wilson won on that, like, 1 4th and short. I don't know if you remember, they both ran like overs, or like a short drag and an over. They both won. Garrett Wilson might have been open for a big gain where he actually beat Marlon Humphrey. Again, Marlon Humphrey, one of the better corners in the league, or at least thought to be one of the better corners in the league. He beat him. So Garrett was great. We talked about receivers. We talked about tight ends. We talked about quarterback. We talked about running back, the offensive line. Okay, so let's save time. Without going through plays specifically, George Fant, absolute dog shit. Bad. Laken Tomlinson, even more bad. To me, it was Laken Tomlinson who was even worse. Like, he was dreadful. Like, just individual one-on-one blocks, understanding block concepts, understanding how to pass off stunts and shit. He was bad. Brutal. McGovern, people shit on him all the time. McGovern was good. He was good. AVT, good in the run game. The pass game, I've been a little bit disappointed with AVT. Now, I know he's making the move. I expect, like if he said at left guard, I expect him to be a Pro Bowl-ish level player. Right guard, I said it. I think it's going to hamper him a little bit where he'll be good, but not great. His pass pro has been still sketchy preseason,
Yes.
and now this game. He didn't look great this game. I said he was okay, but not impressive. And then Max Mitchell, right? Max Mitchell was, if you're looking at him just in a vacuum as a starter, Max Mitchell as a starter was bad, right? Max Mitchell as a 4th-round rookie playing the Ravens was okay, but he was not great. People who saying he was great, he was not great. He got beat quite a few times. So left tackle, absolute trash. Left guard, absolute trash. Center, good. Right guard, okay. Right tackle, bad, but again, he's a 4th-round pick, so he looked okay. But if you're thinking, oh, Max Mitchell was really solid and he's the answer to right tackle, you're sadly mistaken because, well, at least right now, because he was not good this game. Again, just in terms of comparing him to an average NFL starter, he was not that. He looked bad, but considering where he was drafted and the situation he was put in, he was okay.
I pretty much agree with everything you said about the offensive line. One thing I was thinking too, so AVT, I saw that PFF had really kind of hyped up his run blocking, which I thought that by and large he was pretty solid there too. But there are a couple of times, and I think that I noticed this at times last year as well, where sometimes they'll pull AVT not to wall, but to kick out on a block, to kick out who's ever on the edge. And sometimes I feel like he doesn't bring enough heat there, and he doesn't get enough movement sometimes. And sometimes, with those types of kick out blocks, it's not about getting a ton of movement. It's just about kind of getting in the way a little bit. But there was a couple times when they pulled him in this game and he hit the edge defender and, he just completely got stood up. That happened probably once or twice in this game. So, while the pass pro is a bigger concern too,
yeah.
I didn't understand the 92 PFF run blocking grade either, whatever it was.
He needs to be more aggressive, like with just like pass blocking. He's very passive and with his hands. So yeah, AVT's been a little bit disappointing, like just throughout the again, it's preseason, who gives a fuck, but still we're gonna put some kind of weight into it, I guess, because it's there. In this game, people say he played great. I thought he was okay. At best. And McGovern too. Like, what do you think about McGovern hate? People say McGovern's trash. This game, there's a couple of plays I highlighted where he's trying to make up for Laken Tomlinson and is doing his absolute best to block 2 guys at once, and he just can't. So like, I can get like the average fan or people on broadcast being like, "Oh, look at McGovern, he let up that guy." When in reality, he's trying to block two guys at once. So McGovern actually gets like a positive for me this game for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm one of McGovern's biggest defenders. I've been defending that signing since the moment he got here, and Jets fans have been wanting to get him out of the building ever since he's arrived. Well, that's a little bit of a stretch, but since year one, Jets fans have hated him. You could make an argument that McGovern was the best offensive lineman in this game, either him or AVT. I could see it. But yeah, I thought he was pretty solid.
I'm definitely getting to McGovern over AVT this game, just because of the pass pro of AVT. Like he let up a couple pressures, and I think it was AVT on one play where I talk about Jeff Smith over the middle on a dig where he's open, and because AVT let pressure up, he wasn't able to hit it. So I guess we're talking about college people, running backs who are great in college and not good in the pros. We can do that all day with every single position ever. So it doesn't matter. I don't know what we're talking about. But with this, David says Bush is a top 3 college players ever. Reggie Bush is my favorite college player of all time. That's me personally. Just watching him play is ridiculous. But
I like him too because I'm a Texas Longhorns fan. So thank you for the national championship, dude. The only time I've ever got to see a team I root for win a national championship was Texas in 2005.
Really?
Yeah.
Ever?
What about you?
The championship for my team?
What teams that you root for?
Well, the Devils. But the thing with the Devils was
so the Devils.
They won in like what it was like 99, 2000,
early 2000.
Don't kill me. But I was 6, 7, 8 years old, so like you don't appreciate it, Past that, the Mets last one was in 89, right? Or 86, sorry, not 89. It was 69 and 86. So no, I didn't. Well, yeah, it's only the Devils, and I was really young, and I'm not the biggest hockey fan ever anyway. So, but nonetheless, moving on from the absolute dog shit offensive line, minus a few guys, the defensive line, Kyle, what do you think about the defensive line? Q, to me, played very, very well this game. Plenty of times where like and listen, Sheldon Rankins is not a good player, but he kind of took like the Sheldon Rankins route of taking the open chest, did that to Linderbaum. He got bitched a few times. And by the way, in the review, Kyle, you're going to see 2 plays that are labeled Tomlinson bitched back to back, and he gets bull rushed by fucking Patrick Queen. It's like, what is happening? Like
Patrick Queen's small, man.
bro?
He moves very well. Like I didn't watch any of his college tape, but
listen,
I was watching Queen, I was like, man, this dude moves well. But he's small.
We're trying to do some shit with his JetX, and it's doing really well. But should I necessarily put Tomlinson bitched back to back on a film review? No, but fuck it, that's who I am. that's what JetX is getting when they ask me to come on. So, with that being said,
some people love you for that, Joe, and you.
The defensive line, always the defensive line. Q played really, really well. Past that, JFM had a few pressures.
So Quinton, there are times when I watch him. I don't want to say like he plays soft, but like I feel like he was more violent in this game. Like, just the way he was throwing dudes and using his body momentum and stuff. Yeah, more violent with his hands, quicker to use a bull rush and get into it. And really, when you throw a bull rush, man, and like bull rushes can be a little bit dangerous from the whole concussion standpoint thing. And having suffered a couple concussions myself. But you really have to ram your head into the offensive lineman when you're using a bull rush. You saw some of that with Quinton in this game, and he really got some movement. Even that pass deflection that he had in the red zone, like he was moving like a bat out of hell in there, and like he really batted that ball away. Quinton looked good. This was one of his better games. I mean, like I'm trying to think, like was this game? And granted, he's going against a rookie offensive lineman. Ben Powers, is Ben Powers anything special? Kevin Zeitler, Kevin Zeitler's a little bit long in the tooth now. So part of it's competition, but was this game of Quinton, was this better than anything that we saw of him last year? Maybe, possibly. And not to mention, he's also followed it with a strong offseason. Like he's been dominant in the other preseason games. Yeah. By all accounts, he's been dominant in camp. I mean, we're talking about a big contract year for him. So, maybe this is the year where Quinton, really impresses me.
Oh, and Kyle would hate it. Kyle would hate it.
Would not hate. I can go over there right now and get the Quinton Williams jersey for all you think that I'm a big Quinton hater. Anyway, Joe, continue with the other defensive lineman that you were going to mention.
Q was good for sure. Past that, JFM had a few pressures. I'm trying to think really about anybody.
By the way, we didn't get to that $9.99 super chat. We just got another one, which reminded me. I think we should go to that.
Okay, let me see if they're.
I'm trying to remember who it was, but it was something about Gardner Minshew.
I actually agree with this a little bit slow. He's a little bit like hesitant. And it bouncing too many runs to the outside, but he'll fix that. So let me just see. Trying to move to the super chat.
Little tentative. Yeah, I kind
Yeah.
of agree with that. And in college, he kind of could afford to be, but he's going to have to learn real quick, and the coaching staff's going to have to say, "Hey, listen, you got to make your decisions quicker."
Gotta hit it. But let me read the rest of the D line real quick before I get to Alex's super chat. Clemens, whatever, JJ, the sack he had was more kind of seeing how bad of a set Morgan Moses took. Like Morgan Moses had a piss poor set. Now JJ had good explosion. He had good hand placement, and he did a good job, just like power through his rip and staying, or power through his bend and staying on a track and
He ran the ring all the way through.
Yeah, so good job by him getting a sack or a half a sack in his first game. Past that, not really much of the defensive line. Jacob Martin had a few pressures, was in there. I would see him produce a little bit more than he has been, but overall fine. But nothing really.
I was disappointed in Jacob Martin personally.
Okay.
I was expecting more from him.
Yeah, he had like the half sack with JJ, and just overall I want to see like more explosion for him. Like I want to see what he showed that Texans film with how explosive he was. But Alex, thank you for the $10 super chat. Definitely appreciate it. Which Kyle, by the way, I gotta add up like all the last 2 months of super chats and send you some money. Nonetheless, feels like Joe D is still rewarding Flacco for that Ravens ring, which Kyle said he was not even an average quarterback with a million years ago. Just
that year he might have been, but a lot of other years he wasn't.
Just not an NFL QB anymore. We could have had Minshew instead of him from the Jags for the same draft compensation.
Minshew did tear us up in a game last year, but think about how, well, a lot of it's, poor coaching staff and stuff. But Minshew, think about like how bad Minshew was in his last however many starts with the Jags. And Joe, you pointed this out a lot when you were doing your Keelan Cole film, how much he was fading out of throws, not stepping into throws. That film was bad. That film was bad.
Yeah.
He looked like he looks like he's improved with the Eagles, but I mean, there's a reason, and it's not just height. According to him, it's just height. That's the only reason he went in whatever it was, the 6th round. But I see that Daniel C called him a noodle arm, and I think in comparison to most NFL starters, yeah, I think that label is fair.
Look at you,
but
Kyle, agreeing with Daniel.
But Daniel C is also hyping up Carson Wentz as if he's a top 10 quarterback.
Daniel C has a lot of takes. He also put out there that Corey Davis is a good receiver. People are unrealistic and expect 0 drops. While I do agree that Corey Davis is a good receiver, his drops last year were a little bit unacceptable. But Corey Davis right now, Kyle, I don't know what his contract is next year. Let's just say it's $12 million. $12 million for Corey Davis in 2023. He should be brought back, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Snoopy, who I usually love and I usually agree with, says Moore is overrated. In my opinion, Garrett will be wide receiver 1. Now, with this being said, Moore is not overrated. Does Garrett Wilson have the ability to be a better receiver than Moore just based on his physical characteristics? Yes. But he has a long way to go in terms of the route running with Moore. Moore is a very, very good route runner, minus getting off a press, where Garrett still struggles in certain aspects of route running. But Garrett Wilson has the capability of being a top 10 receiver in this league. He really does. Like Garrett Wilson is freaky lower body.
Let me say this, though, about those two players. Yeah. Based off of what I've seen at practice and things I've heard, and even just watching the game, and even just going back to what I was saying to you 20-ish minutes ago about how I've seen Elijah Moore take plays off, and I saw that somebody in the chat agreed with me, whoever that was, at least one person. I do feel that Garrett Wilson has a little bit more fire to his game and possibly plays harder than Elijah Moore.
I think
so. And there is something to be said for that in terms of, longevity of your career and how much you love the game and how much work you're willing to put in outside. So
Garrett's fire for sure.
Also got to consider that too. So I'd give Wilson the hat tip in that regard too. But if we're talking who's the more polished receiver right now, it's definitely Moore, as he should be. He's a 2nd-year player, but he was more polished coming out of college as well.
Yeah. By the way, somebody told me it's Chris Turner Mets 2-0. I had on SNY, and I guess it's another channel. What channel is the Mets game? Can tell me out.
Well, we did get another. Did you get the nose kill super chat? I'm sorry
skills.
if you.
We had somebody ask, and I apologize. I apologize who it is because I don't remember. But Kyle, somebody basically said like Jets X Factor, where is Uzama? Like he needs Uzama answers. So can you answer that for the person who asked it? I forget.
Jets. Where is Uzama?
See, and I just said it. McGovern was good this game. But yeah, he asked where was Uzama?
I mean, he played a little bit, but I didn't really see him do much. I mean, like one thing I noticed a lot from Uzama in this game was when they ran some of those wrinkles where they were taking, they would line him up as like, H-back or, offline tight end. And then they would put him in motion at the snap the ball as he's passing the quarterback, and then have him block to kick out. I mean, that was kind of the main way I saw him used in this game. I didn't really see him kick out people too much. In terms of receiving, I didn't really see much from him. But listen, Lawrence Cager should like barely be playing. Like if one of these tight ends goes down, okay, put Lawrence Cager in. But I see no reason why Lawrence Cager should play any reps aside from injuries. I really don't. I mean, like it's like, why are you even dressing him when both tight ends are healthy? Like, okay, let's say one of your tight ends does go down in the game. Okay, then you run more 11 personnel.
Can I address something really quickly because it's funny to me? Maybe it's because I've had one or two, but I guess we're talking about being bitched, and then Young Setch is talking about being bitched, and then I wouldn't know what Joe meant if he didn't say bitched, dude. That play too, like you're gonna see it in the review, which I hope people who are not subscribed will subscribe. But in the play, like I criticize his like how he punches, and in the review, I'm literally on camera. I'm like, he goes like this, meh, like that in the fucking review, and it's just I feel like such an asshole doing it. But he literally, there's one play he puts his hands up like this and goes, I'm like, what are you fucking doing, bro? And then the same thing on one of the other plays, like his one hand's out, and he goes like this. I'm like, dude, this is bad. Like Tomlinson was so bad, so I put getting bitched because he looked like a bitch. I'm sorry, it is what it is. But moving on from that, Kyle, I forgot what you were saying, but nonetheless, want to comment on what you're saying? Want to remind me really quickly?
I think I finished what I was saying.
Okay, good. Perfect. That's what I thought. Linebackers. We're going to get to linebackers. We're going to get to safeties. We're going to get to corners. And then we're going to get to the Browns quickly. I don't know if you have a hard 8 o'clock stop time, Kyle.
No.
Okay, cool. So let's move to the linebackers. Overall thoughts on the linebackers. I'll comment quickly just for the sake of time. We got to kind of move a little bit.
Off the top of my head, I thought that they, by and large, were pretty solid. Okay. Quincy can still overrun things at times. Like he did kind of miss one tackle, according to. I'm not going by any PFF or any official stat websites. I'm just going by off the top of my head. There were sometimes I saw him, light some dudes up, and then there were other times where I saw him come in a little hot and miss, which is kind of the Quincy what we saw last year. Trying to think, did I see any coverage busts from him? I can't think off the top of my head. I thought Mosley was pretty. Quan Alexander has impressed me, man. There was one play. God, I got to start taking a little bit better notes when I watch games sometimes, especially since I don't clip the plays as nearly as much as you do. I barely clip anything. But there was one play where I feel like him and Jacob Martin were coming off the edge, and the way that Quan came off the edge, bended back inside to make a tackle, I was really impressed with. So, I think getting him for the amount of money we got him for was kind of a steal. But anyway,
and that's the thing too, Kyle, and you can attest to it. And people out there, if you go on the YouTube channel, I just put out a hour and 30-minute review of Quan. It's all free, so go watch it. I feel like a lot of that review, I was praising Quan more than I was criticizing him, and typically that's not the case. Like I criticize a lot, like probably more than I praise people. And Quan was impressive to me, more impressive than I thought he would be for how he's like viewed around the league. But yeah, Quan was good. Quincy, the one play, he's in a very he's in a phone booth and completely misses a tackle because he's over pursuing. But overall, I still think Quincy, relative to expectations, was good. Quan was good. Mostly looked good in coverage. Sometimes he was a little bit. There's sometimes I want to see him carry guys, but again, how is that in relation to how the Jets coaching staff teaches it? But overall, linebackers were pretty solid. We'll go to the super chat before this. Nikki Free, hey Joe, I think that your painting behind you dropped. Explains. No, there's a black hook. It's always there. Plus, nose hills, 10 euros, which I appreciate. I'm going to Europe in actually 6 days. Which, by the way, Kyle, I hope you can do a stream next. It might be Tuesday night because I go to Italy I go to Italy on Wednesday, so I'm not going to be here for like 3 weeks. So I apologize to everybody. There's gonna be no
I
film
think
review. Probably
you're gonna have to go solo on that one, but I'll be here for all the other ones.
solo on Tuesday.
Well, I mean, like,
you might-
listen, I'm not gonna be able to watch the film before then, so I don't think I'll be of much use.
Yeah. I'm gonna be gone for I think so. I'm not gonna have a review for the Brown. What is it? Is it Browns, Bengals, Steelers, Dolphins? I'm gonna be away for all those. I'm going away for like 3 weeks. So
Good for you.
unfortunately, I'm not gonna see you guys a lot.
Is there any part of you that's concerned that you won't be able to watch the games abroad?
I am concerned. My wife likes to plan trips during football season and during the draft time. I don't know what it is, but it's let's go away in October and let's go away end of April. It just is what it is. I will adjust that accordingly going forward. But no, I'll watch the games. I can't do the shows. Maybe I'll call in. Like if you do it, maybe you might have to do solo streams, Kyle. Or
Hey,
streams with
listen,
Donnie.
I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm down. You just
But
let me know.
those kills.
This is your operation.
This is our operation. It's my site. This is our operation, this show. Losing sucks. People taking receipts comment personally, saying anything positive about Ravens game, excuses just win, while they make similar excuses about how it was just a blowout, not a loss. Kyle, you're
I
smarter
think
than me. You take that.
Salah kind of said that. Like he said something like, we didn't get beat, we lost, which in other words, I think he's saying like, we kind of beat ourselves as opposed to them kicking our ass, which dude, in some ways they straight up kicked your ass. Their defensive front seven whooped your ass. So, anyway, let's losing people taking receipts comment personally, saying anything positive about Ravens game, just win. Well, anyway, thank you for Nose Kills for the very generous super chat. I mean, yeah, I'm not sure what else to say. I mean, like, I think we're pretty much all of the opinion that we just want to see Jets wins, right? Like, save the talking, right? Like,
how disheartening was that meeting at the bus after the game where they just got blown out? Like, we're just like, fuck, dude. Like, I can't take this shit anymore. And again, there are different 24
yeah, I'm gonna quote
9 losses.
Here's a Joe Blewett quote. You said, "quote I'm done."
Hold on, no. Oh, you already said it. Can we also consider the mental state I was in at that point? Like I had quite a few. But at the end of the day, like listen, going to games for I haven't had season tickets really for 8 years, but I've gone to most of the games for 8-9 years. To go to all these games and get fucking blown out all the time, to be out of it. And this game wasn't the second quarter, but it was the third quarter. As soon as they scored 2 touchdowns or whatever it was, we're like, done, bro. Like it's already over in the third quarter. Like Conklin scored a touchdown at the end of the game, and we're like, yay! Like it was such a bullshit cheer. Like everybody's like kind of like making fun of the Jets scoring a touchdown. Like it's just
How
not fun.
disheartening was it, Joe? 2 years in a row, man. Like once the Ravens went up by that like second touchdown, I started hearing Ravens chants,
Bro,
and I kind of forget what the chant was. I never even knew what a Ravens chant was. But
what is their chant?
I forgot, but I heard it, and I guess I kind of blocked it out of my mind.
I was
but
making fun of Ravens fans. Like they were taking pictures at MetLife Stadium, like making fun of us. I'd photobomb them, like jump in their picture, like yeah. Like as a Jets fan, like this fucking sucks. Like I just don't want to be the laughing stock of the league anymore, and they've been that for quite a bit. So moving on to the safeties, Kyle Whitehead. I think fine in the run game. We expect him to struggle in the pass game. He was fine in the run game, struggled in the pass game. LaMarcus Joyner played some of the worst safety play I've ever seen. And we've had some really dog shit players. Calvin Pryor, just to mention one, they're out there. He was really bad. Any other comments on the safeties? I don't really notice Ashton Davis or anybody else on the field, but Joyner was bad and Whitehead was okay.
Well, I don't think Ashton Davis played any snaps, did he?
Okay, yeah, I didn't notice any other safeties.
I don't think any others played any snaps.
I don't think so. But yeah.
Yeah, I think we already covered both of them. Mm-hmm. So I don't think we need to talk more about safeties. We can talk about corners if you want.
I'm still trying to figure out what this means. Saying anything positive. There's positives for sure. I think if you eliminate the offensive line poor play and the quarterback bad play, it's a completely different game. While they make similar excuses about how it's a blowout, I'm trying to give its due process here for $10 super chat or €10 super chat. It was a blowout. Yeah, Kyle addressed it. I'm sorry, but
I could have possibly missed Nose Kills if we missed your point. Apologize, and you could type in another chat. It doesn't have to be a super chat, and clarify if you'd like us to address it more.
Corners, Kyle. What'd you think? I'll let you hit it first.
Overall, yeah, I was really pleased. So DJ Reed, obviously, he got a good PFF grade for take that for what it's worth. Really nice interception at the end. There was so one thing, Joe, like obviously you really like DJ Reed, you really like the signing. And this is something that I brought up to you on the stream. I don't even know if you were so conscious of it because you really like the player and you kind of see the talent there. But there was definitely a lot in your review where you were kind of criticizing like him, like hopping back on his heels, and did see some of that in this game. With that being said, he still had pretty sticky coverage. And it's not just a sticky coverage too, man. Like, he threw a hell of a hit to knock that ball out from whoever that running back was, Davis, number 28. Hell of a hit there.
Mike Davis.
Sauce Gardner, I think a lot of people are probably going to talk about, the pass deflection that he had against Mark Andrews. Thought that was good. I think Sauce might have got a little lazy with his technique at sometimes, right?
Yeah, he definitely needs to learn the kick step versus the false step. Like there's too much in his form where at the press he's very like bend from the waisty and his legs are straight, and then there's a lot of kicking forward and jumping backwards instead of that like that kick step that coaches will teach, which is like that taught false step. But it's just to eliminate yourself from trying to hop back on your heels. So sorry, I kind of took it over, but DJ Reed was very, very good. The pick was a little bit risky. I break that down in the film review. He could have been thinking that the number 2 not going vertical. He knew he had over top help, so he played a little bit in trail. But that's for the film breakdown. But still a very good game from DJ Reed. Sauce was good, not great. There was a play or two where Sauce was beat, where the ball was not thrown. There's a post. I don't know if you noticed that post sometime in the second, third quarter, where
who's running
he
it?
Had I don't remember. He might have been beat for a deep gain. Could he have recovered if the ball was thrown? Maybe. And then there was a play where there was a play where the ball was thrown to the right and the ball was tipped and Sauce was right there on Andrews. But if you watch the play, Sauce is actually beat by Andrews. It's just he had the recovery speed to make up to it. So Sauce played very well. He didn't play elite. He was not elite this game. Again, people are going to fucking go crazy about that because I'm saying Sauce was good, not great. But overall, still a very, very good game for Sauce to open up the season. DJ Reed also very good. Michael Carter II as well. Very, very good. I don't know if you noticed a lot of the Michael Carter II, but there was that play where I'm not sure if it was the 2 or the 3, but they ran a quick screen. Michael Carter II is in a hook to curl or curl to flat, and he's widening, and he notices the 3 start to break out, and the number 2, I'm going to say it's the number 2, start to stalk block him, and he breaks forward to the number 3 and would have easily blown up the play, but he fell or he slipped most likely because of the rain. So I thought Michael Carter II was also really good in this game. Past that, Breece Hall had the play where I think he had good, like relatively good technique, just not a lot of athleticism to keep up, but overall, Reed great. The voice is definitely on right now, but Reed great. Sauce good but not great. Michael Carter good, and I listen. Bryce Hall, I think he's a guy who needs to play with perfect technique to play guys.
He can't keep up with guys.
He was right there. Like I get he had some catch up speed. The guy had to slow down, but like that play was not brutal. Like I think, and there's people out there, Kyle, saying, and I want you to hit on the corners as well. But there are people out there saying to cut Bryce Hall. If you are crazy. He's still a very good number 4. He's had a obviously in the recency bias of Jets fans. He's terrible right now, but he's still a good player.
Yeah, and a really solid 5th round pick too. So. Yeah, I didn't have him in the top 25, and I'm not thinking about putting him in there, and I don't feel bad about not putting him in there, but yeah.
Joe Flacco's in there.
I still don't feel bad about that, but if he has another game like he did, okay, then I'm going to look like a real idiot. And also, again, this is something you and I talked about in the parking lot post-game. Sauce missed a tackle, was like a quick little play action, get the receiver in the flat. I think it was DeMarcus Robinson. He gets in the flat. Sauce has him one-on-one in space, misses a tackle. Contrast that to Michael Carter. I think the Ravens ran like a speed option to the weak side. Weak side of the formation. I think it was the weak side of the formation on the field side. And Michael Carter has Drake I think it's Kenyon Drake one-on-one and makes a nice open field tackle. I think that was the same play he got hurt on.
He had a really nice play
Dude, when
too.
he got hurt, man, there was this one douchebag behind me. He's like, "Oh, who's hurt?" I was like, "Oh, it's Michael Carter II." Oh, replaceable player. Like, what are you talking about, man? This guy was a big asshole.
You put him at like low 20s, so you think he's replaceable. I put him higher, but
I don't think he's low 20s.
Nonetheless.
And even if I did put him there, I think this roster is pretty good. And that's the one where I said I think I'd move him up. But yeah, I do think that the corners by and large played really well. And yeah, in terms of the Sauce thing, just going back to him, it's like he played as well as he did with having technical flaws too. And I really attribute some of that to, he has to think a little bit more than a seasoned veteran like DJ Reed at this point, because this is his first NFL game. And when you're thinking about, okay, what happens on this coverage and what do I do when this player breaks this way? What do I do when the number 2, if he breaks out? You're just thinking a little bit more. You're going to play a little bit slower and your technique will be thrown off a little bit. And maybe you'll open up your hips a little bit earlier, which, he did once or twice that I noticed. That happens. But the fact that, he has the recovery speed to make up and still run with guys, it's like, okay, yeah, that's why you drafted him 4th overall. That's why we're saying he can be as good as he can be.
Yeah.
So we did get a couple more super chats, Joe.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit those, and then we're gonna talk about. Well, we talk about corners again. Sauce was good, but there was a time or two where he was beat. There's also another 2 really nice plays by Sauce too, where it's a really good job filling in the run game off the edge, where he does a really good job just maintaining the outside leverage, breaking down before he goes in for the tackle. It didn't look sexy at all, and I said it in a film review, but it was really good.
Talking about like when the Ravens were in like the green zone plus side of the field.
It's just so fucking hard, dude. I recorded 70 plays. I don't remember exactly the situation, but he did a really good job filling. And then there was a play where he actually takes on a pulling offensive lineman, gets inside of him, and gets in on the tackle. I'm like, dude, you're talking about a corner who's lanky.
He's willing.
An offensive lineman. Oh, dude, his mindset. Sauce, like Sauce and Wilson, like both those picks, they're dogs. Like Sauce is an absolute dog, bro. Like I was impressed. Listen, me saying good, not great is what it is, because he was beat on a play or two where people don't necessarily watch it, but Sauce is gonna be a superstar. Like he really is. Which, by the way, before we get to the super chats and I go to the bathroom again because I broke the seal, which I told you at the stream at the tailgate, I never do. I don't do it, and I did it. I just don't. I don't typically.
I don't understand how you couldn't when you drink the amount that you do.
What, Kyle? No. Come
By
on.
the way, when we saw MB99. Shout out to him who came over with his girlfriend and said hello. That was cool. I was like, I kept calling you. I was like, Joe, and you were not listening. I was like, he's had a lot to drink.
Yeah, MB99. I'm sorry if I didn't give you your due time. Kyle, we get after it at the tailgates. The shotgun at 8:00 in the morning just starts it off, and then we get after it from there. And then on with Tyson's thing, me and Tyson got trashed. So, I apologize, but it was a good time nonetheless. But I did call Snoopy being intoxicated or at least fucked up, because he says, I'm sorry, y'all, I've had way too many Coronas. Corey Davis and the best in this team pissed me off in that Ravens game, which Corey Davis shouldn't. He was better than you think he was. He was.
Corey Davis was solid, and the drop should piss everyone off. It's a tough ball to catch, but he should catch it when you're paying him the amount that he is. By the way, you could actually maybe praise Flacco a little bit on that play. We shot on Flacco a lot, deservedly so. But there was a safety robbing on that play, and Flacco kind of put the ball in the place where he needed to so that the safety couldn't pick it off.
Hey, Kyle, I'm going to highlight the super chat, and then you're going to talk again, and I'm going to go to the bathroom again, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Alex, $5 super chat, which we appreciate. Does Salah handling of the media remind you of Joe Judge? Receipts and 60% seem right at a Judge playbook, but win games and we'll forget. Go ahead, Kyle.
Okay, this is a good question. Admittedly, I did not watch enough of Joe Judge to be able to really say. Although the couple of times I did watch him, I did find it thoroughly entertaining. And yeah, I know the media love to clown him. It seems like Salah is a lot more competent than Joe Judge. It's like, what was Joe Judge doing, man? Like, he was treating some of these professional players like they were high school players, making them do sprints and things like this. So I know you're specifically talking about handling of the media, but I think Joe Judge was literally out of the league, man. He didn't know what he was doing. So, and was Joe Judge always kind of like a little bit abrasive with the media? I mean, this is only kind of like a recent thing with Salah. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I watched enough of Joe Judge to really comment on like his media presence, stuff like that. Can I tell you that Salah saying, the receipts thing and all the shit is good? No, it's like he's putting himself out there. Like you said, Kyle, like if he comes out this week and shits the bed, that receipt thing is going to be brought up all over the place. Like, and you saw it on NFL Network and ESPN and wherever else that Salah was bringing up this receipts thing, which I think he's putting an unnecessary target on his back, which is just not ideal. Ablab Studios, how old is Quan? 20?
He's not 30. He's like
27?
28, 29, something like that. I think he's 28.
29?
I'll say 28.
Yeah, something like that. Sluggo, appreciate you. Dude, Alex, let's see. I'm just trying to find anything else. Oh, we talked about special teams. Listen, for the people who think like there are people out there like Pinheiro was the answer all the time. He's great. It was Pinheiro and Zerline was like a 50-50 thing. Pinheiro made 9 kicks or 6 kicks or whatever it was in a row last year. I'm not going to note him as a savior, and we chose the wrong guy. Zerline sucked. He did. But past that, dude, Braden Mann has to go. When he shanked that 20-yarder, that's one of the big reasons I lost my voice, because I was in the corner end zone in what section we're in? 120. I forget, 120 something. And he was kind of standing like at the 25, 30-yard line. I was screaming at Braden Mann, dude. Braden Mann is absolute dog shit. That guy needs to go. They need to get a new punter. And it's funny because you have Nani out there who's a stats guy and all this shit, right? And like they bring in like 6 punters to work out. And Nani's kind of like, okay, this guy. They're all decent, right? And the worst one is player X. I forget the guy's name is. Guess who the fucking Jets bring in? The worst
Braden.
Of all the 6, dude.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the ones that they signed.
I know what you're talking about.
Spot. They brought. He's like this guy has terrible numbers. Like out of all the guys that worked out, he's the worst. So why they, dude? I don't know if it's Brant Boyer. I don't know if it's Joe Douglas, but their special teams evaluation with kickers and punters has been absolute dog shit. Because like even Morstead was better, much better than Mann last year. And why'd they get rid of the Australian Edwards in the first? Like Edwards was never terrible. He was okay, right? Like I don't remember him being as bad as Brendan Mann ever was. So they need a new punter. They need a new kicker apparently, because that position is just never going to be solved for the next decade. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but it was brutal again. Like you're seeing your punter kicker from like, I think it was like the 40 to the 40 or whatever it was, like a 20-yard punt. Kyle, listen, the state of mind I was in on Sunday. I could kick the ball farther than 20 yards. I can. I'm very, very confident I kick the ball farther than 20 yards in that state of mind. So the fact that Braden Mann is making millions of dollars and he can't do that shit is beyond frustrating.
You remember when we played the Bills at the end of last season and their punter kept shanking balls? He must have done it like three times in that game. Like I'm not saying Braden Mann's that bad, because I think their punter got cut shortly after that. Hence why the Bills drafted a punter or whatever it was in the 4th or 5th round this year. Granted, he had rape allegations against him and he's no longer on the team, but nonetheless, they decided to invest heavily in that position. It sucks when you draft because most punters are not drafted. I was marveling at Justin Tucker pregame. Like I was watching him just nail all these 60-yarders. He was nailing everything from 60 plus yards in the pregame. And I was thinking like, was he drafted? Was he a late round draft pick? No, he was undrafted. But it just makes you wonder, like, so many good kickers and punters are undrafted, but why don't teams spend a late round pick? Because how many late round picks, really make the team on somebody who you really think is, a stud? And I know that was the case with Braden Mann, but it's almost like, okay, well, you bit the dust on that one, but it doesn't mean you can't throw another late round flyer at another guy if you're convinced that they are the one. But they do need to shore up special teams though, because, field position, if you can't rely on somebody, or, if it's at the end of the game and you need to make that game winning kick, but you're worried that your kicker is going to shank it. I mean, it's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah. So are you okay with this, Kyle? Jan, which we appreciate the $20 super chat. Definitely.
Are you okay with it, Joe? Again,
Jan, listen. I know you're here a lot, Jan. Do I know from going from absolute zero, not absolute zero, but never seeing your face, never talking to you in real life, to going to hosting a live stream with Kyle? I think we need a test run first, Jan. I don't know.
By the way, we failed to meet up with him on Sunday.
Yeah, Jan texted. Hold on, Kyle. How many days did I say, or how many streams? I still let my dog out again. How many streams did I say? J1. I checked my phone after the game, and Jan's like,
You
"Where you
kept
guys at?"
saying Jay for a long time,
I thought I said J1.
and then you definitely said J1 on the last stream. So I thought that was perfectly clear. You might have said it for 2 streams consecutively, J1, but you
J1.
were saying J
It's-
for quite a while.
I will always be in J1. Listen, I was in a tailgate with like Ryan and Matt and Green Bean and all those guys. Once they went from J, they're supposed to be in J2, J3, all the way to D. Fuck that. I'm in J. J1 is my spot. I'll be there for the rest of the time. So if you're gonna go to a game, J1, find me, Jets Bus. You'll see us. But let's see. We got some people getting wild in here. So Kyle, dude, it's already 8:22. Should we do the Browns recap? Like, what do you want to do with the Browns game? Because I don't want to push too long. But before that, I'm gonna get to the super chat.
We might as well start talking about that, and then if there are any good super chats based off of what we discuss about that, then we can address those.
Yeah. What do you think about this, Kyle? From Broward County
Reciprocity.
Yes. Mission. Thank you. Thank you, Kyle. Saving the day. How long of a leash does Flacco have Sunday? I gave him 3 drives. Keep up with the great work, gentlemen. We appreciate that, Kyle. What
I
do you think?
I think 3 drives is quite short.
I think 1 drive.
Stop it. I don't think Flacco gets pulled from the game.
Really?
Unless we're talking, dude, unless he goes out and throws 6 interceptions or something like that.
You're talking about 3 points at halftime shit again?
You think they're going to pull him for 3 points at half for Mike White? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't see it happening.
But okay, let's go through the Browns roster. I don't really actually should I pull up the depth chart really quickly?
Yeah, pull up the Hour Lads.
The Hour Lads. I'm trying to get to the rest of the chat. My super chat. I got to you, Broward.
Little late. Broward, I believe.
Yeah. Hold on. I gotta close this door now because a bunch of bugs are starting flying in. Okay, let's pull up the Browns roster, but we know at the minimum, Kyle, their quarterback is Jacoby Brissett. So, what do you think about the Browns in terms of Jacoby Brissett?
Brissett's solid as a backup. I mean, I think you'd have to say that he's probably a better backup than Flacco, which I don't think is many. I mean, like you're kind of saying Flacco is an average backup, whereas I think he's one of the better backups in the league. But Brissett's like really kind of like top of the line in terms of backups.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's solid. He's it's interesting how much he's moved around in a relatively young career. It's interesting how the Patriots, invested a pretty high draft pick in him, 3rd round draft pick, but yet they were willing to trade him to the Colts. And I forgot what they traded him for. I don't think he really does anything to impress you really well. He loved to throw slant routes in college. I remember watching his college tape and evaluating him. They ran like a lot of tosser concepts. He threw that really well. Trying to think what else he does really well. But listen, if we win this game on Sunday, I think that Jacoby Brissett's a real reason why. We're quite lucky, as is any team that play the Browns, that Watson isn't playing because, Watson's quite dangerous. In my opinion, he is, when we talk about elite quarterbacks, Watson is elite. And, Watson does not have elite level arm, but you want to talk about reading coverages, anticipation, ability to make things happen. That's Deshaun Watson for you. Ability to improvise and he's good off RPOs and things like that. Missing Watson is huge for the Browns. So I think that when you look at the Browns roster, they're pretty solid top to bottom. I'm not really that impressed with the receivers, to be honest. Joe, maybe you can tell me more about Donovan Peoples-Jones because I really don't know much about him.
Yeah, there's not much I'm going to add. I know he's a big body receiver, but in terms of like strengths and weaknesses, I'm not going to add much to it. I know he's been relied on to be one of their primary receivers, but I don't know if he necessarily should be relied on to be one of their primary receivers. I can't tell you anything about any of these other guys. David Bell, Anthony Schwartz, Michael Woods, the second. Well, David Bell was drafted this year, right? If I'm not
3rd round pick. Okay.
Yeah, I might be wrong.
What college?
Jesus Christ, Kyle. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't say anything about him, so I don't know.
Jacoby Brissett, you're talking about a backup level quarterback. Their receiver options, their skill positions minus running back. Njoku, Harrison Bryant.
Did see an interesting stat. So apparently they franchise tag Njoku,
Yeah.
right? But apparently, like they used him mostly, like so he played a huge percentage of their snaps last week. If I read this correctly, he blocked on such a huge percentage of them, barely ran routes, and then whoever their second string tight end is, I think it's Harrison Bryant.
Yeah.
He played a lower percentage of snaps, but ran more routes at a percentage rate.
Mhm.
So, what the fuck are they doing with Njoku? I was so shocked when they did franchise tag him.
Yeah, when they franchise tagged him, they barely, and then he was like the number 2 to what's his face, Hooper, right? So I'm not impressed with their offensive like skill positions. Again, Cooper fine number 1, but past that, Peoples, Jones, Bell, Felton, Schwartz, Woods, nothing to write home about.
Teller's a stud. Wyatt
and-
Teller on the offensive line, he's a stud.
And talking about just, and we didn't mention this with Sauce, the fact that they did put Sauce on Mark Andrews in some key situations was obviously a hat tip to Sauce by the coaching staff. But for this game, if you could lock down Cooper, dude, lock down Cooper with Sauce or even Reed, I think they'll do a pretty good job and just stack the box, bro. Because like this game is all about the running game, because Wills, while not necessarily living up to the expectations, is still at least decent, I would think. Joel Bitonio is a very good guard. Wyatt Teller is a very good guard.
You watched a ton of Conklin's film.
Conklin is a decent tackle, probably overpaid, but still a decent tackle. I'm not sure about Pochik or whatever the fuck his name is, but
Pochich, I believe it's pronounced.
You're talking about just in every rating and just with the eye test, you're talking about one of the top 5 to 10 offensive lines in the league, which is then supported or not supported, but which is then obviously ran behind or run with a Nick Chubb and a Kareem Hunt. So you're talking about a very, very good running back group, probably the best, if not, probably the best 1-2 punch in the entire league behind a good
without a doubt
line. So it's not about the skill positions, it's about stopping the run. So for me, just looking at this offense, the Jets stack the shit out of the box. They lock Sauce or at least Cone or bracket Cooper, and then just dare them to beat you in the run game. But you need to consistently see 7 or 6, 7, 8 in the box versus Browns game, and again make a guy in Brissett beat you with not many options past Cooper.
Yeah, it's definitely. We talked about this a little bit earlier. It's definitely a different running attack that you're scared of.
Yeah.
You know, preparing for Lamar is a totally different beast, because you're preparing for a guy who can pull it and literally, like, you know, if you don't defend it right, if you crash down on the dive too much and he gets a step on you, you know, he could be running 40 yards downfield. I mean, there's no other player in the league who can quite do that. But, you know, when you're talking like how this offensive line is looking more solid, and they compare these running backs to what we saw last week. I mean, there's no comparison to Kenyon Drake in either of these two guys. So it's a different type of defense here, but, you know, again, just like we were stacking the box last week, we're going to be stacking it again this week. And the thing is, you know, while the Jets would want to stack the box in previous, you know, last year, they didn't really have the guys in the secondary who can hold up. But, you know, dude, I trust our corners on either of these receivers, man. I'm not concerned about them. So it's really about, you know, stopping the run. That's what you're worried about.
Which is a huge test for the Jets too, because like, listen, again, the Ravens attacked a little bit more to the outside, which I think aids like to the Jets. Not aids. That's not the word I'm looking for. But if you're going to talk about a running game, attacking the Jets defense, I'm more confident in them stopping a running game that's going to the outside, like the Ravens did, versus a team that's going to, again, like brute strength versus brute strength, just go up the middle and dare you to fucking beat them. And that's what the Browns are. So it's a huge test this week. Now moving to the defense, I am concerned about the DNs, especially considering how piss poor, you know, the offensive line played. But looking at guys like, you know,
did you see Garrett's sack? Did you see his sack last week?
No, I did not actually.
Dude, you have to. I'm going to try to find it and I'll send it to you on Twitter. But dude, the way he bent the edge, and I'm pretty sure it was against the left tackle, whoever the Panthers left tackle was.
Yeah,
dude, to close and bend around the edge at 272. Holy shit, man.
Yeah.
And he destroyed Baker. He like barely broke his stride.
Is he the best athlete at the end in the league? I think so.
Yeah. Who else is better?
Yeah, athletically, I don't think.
I mean, like,
better.
I mean, his testing numbers prove that he's an insane athlete, but then you can also see him, he dunking basketballs and shit too. So,
So what do you do versus DNs? Are you sending consistent chips versus Garrett? Because and then people are like, oh, Clowney, he's not that good. Clowney's fucking good too. So
Clowney can
now,
play.
yeah, Clowney can play. Now is he the best pass rusher in the world? No, but he's still solid and he's a very very good edge defender. So
Yeah, I think again, like you can't always listen. I mean, like you have to understand that defenses can set their fronts the way they want and stuff. So you could try to chip them a lot and stuff too, but do you have the personnel? Like, what's the formation you're running and stuff? But I think that has to be and while you're not nearly as concerned with someone like Clowney, and the thing about Clowney too is I'm not so worried, and I've said this a couple of times, I'm not so worried about him coming off the edge. I always felt like he's a little bit better on the interior, truthfully. But you can't sleep on him. But at the same time, nobody else that they have on the defensive line concerns you to the degree that Garrett is. So when you can chip him, I think you have to do it a lot. You're going to have to provide some help for him because you're not confident in Max Mitchell, or especially what we saw from George Fant, you're not confident in either one of those guys to block him one-on-one. And dude, if he gets anywhere near Joe Flacco, you're not at all thinking that Joe Flacco is going to evade a sack. So.
No, not at all. So past that, Kyle, the defensive tackles, as I play fetch my dog, who's about to bark on himself because he sees himself in the reflection, and people are dropping off. 80 people in here, but nonetheless, defensive tackles, I think we can attack them. Run game inside, even their linebackers. Like looking at, I like JOK. Walker's okay, but I'm not overly concerned about the middle of their defense in terms of running the ball. Now, do you want to run the ball to the edge on Myles Garrett or on Clowney? No, not really. So I think the Jets should implement more, inside zone, tight zone, more runs to the inside in this game instead of trying to attack Clowney, because Clowney is one of the better edge setters in the league in terms of run defense.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, again, their linebackers. Like, even though JOK, like we like him, we like what he was in college, and Walker is okay. I don't think they're necessarily guys who we're worried about like shutting down the run game for the Jets. So I think if anything against his defense, you really want to hammer home that run game and not throw the ball 79 times like they did against, or was it 79 or 69? Plenty of times versus the Ravens. I want to focus more on the run game versus team, because you look at both the edge rushers of Myles Garrett and Clowney, and then you pair that. Okay, you don't want to run, you don't want to pass against or a lot against those guys because of how good they are, and then you pair that with the fact that their defense is touting out guys like Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome as their corners. Hard to throw against them because of both their DNs and their corners. So it's going to be a big running the ball type of game for the Jets, right?
Yeah. So here's my question for you. So the Jets tried to do a lot of heavy personnel. I guess I have to believe that part of that was because of the weather conditions, why they wanted to do that. They tried to do a lot of that and just pound it, and it wasn't working. So in terms of establishing the run early, how are you going to switch things up in terms of personnel, you think?
In terms of the Jets versus the Browns and
because I don't think that you're going to want to run a lot of 13 this game or whatever, but are you going to do more 12? And so you were saying run more inside zone and stuff, but what types of wrinkles off of it? I don't know. Maybe I'm asking you a dumb question.
In terms of like personnel usage, should they go more 12 to chip the ends of this team more and leak guys out? I don't know, but I think in general they should run the ball more than they did last game. So does that bode itself more to 12 and 22? I guess more than last week, but at the same time, like, who are they running in 22? Like, who's the extra running back? They don't really have that guy. Jeremy Ruckert was inactive, so I don't know. I would go a little bit heavier, just to try to hit the inside and try to help out even in the passing game, because I don't think you can go 11. I don't think you can go 10. Like, there's plenty. I don't know how many sets. I didn't chart it, but there was a decent amount of sets at least where the Jets ran, running empty versus this team and leaving Max Mitchell or Fant one-on-one with Garrett. You are fucked. Like, Garrett is top 3 rusher in the league right now at the end. Him, TJ Watt. Joey
or Nick Bosa probably would be number 3.
The third, but I'm putting him and what's his name above everybody else right now. So
I'll tell you what, I do want to see more 49er style, get guys in motion, get them into the flats and throw them a quick ball to the flat and let them make something happen, because that's one thing I think the Jets got a good amount of. Whether you're doing that with Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, even Berrios is pretty good at these, or you could even potentially do it with, one of the running backs too. We saw how Brees turned up the sideline last week. The thing is, when you do pure dropbacks, you're giving Myles Garrett time to come and destroy you. But when you're doing these, that you have to play disciplined defense to be able, like if one guy is a little bit late on moving with the motion, or if he gets caught like Hamza did in that, I think it was the preseason game against the Giants, and he's late to get over, so when you have a passing game like that, it's kind of like an extension of the running game without the risk of throwing an interception or getting your quarterback killed. So I think that they need to do more of that type of stuff. And we didn't see them give a single, end around handoff last week, right? They didn't,
no,
right?
No, they didn't.
So you're going to have to do some of that this week too. And I think that person number one that you give an end around handoff to is Garrett Wilson, more so than Elijah Moore, right? We saw.
Yeah, I would say so. So Kyle, is there not? Well, listen, we just went over the roster. We did a pretty generic breakdown of the Browns, but is there anything else you want to add to this game, and then give any predictions before we log off, because we are pushing time a little bit?
I don't think I have anything else to add, but we can go with predictions and yeah,
chat or what? So final score, Kyle. The Jets walk out of Sunday with a blank to blank win or a blank to blank loss. What's your feel?
I think the Jets are going to cash the receipt. I think they're going to walk out of Cleveland with that new logo with a win.
Really?
I'll say, yeah. I'm going to say, I will say 27-24 Jets.
You think that much scoring with a heavy ground game from the Browns?
Yeah.
We didn't.
I mean, dude, in today's NFL, is that a lot of scoring though? 27-24?
I guess not, but the Jets just put up 9 points versus the Ravens.
Yeah,
so
but we all know they should have. We all know they should have scored more than that. Despite how shitty they played, the scoreboard should have been higher.
They should have, considering that they should have had more protection and better quarterback play. But unfortunately, the Browns have an even better defensive front in terms of their edge rushers than the Ravens do. I'm slightly concerned.
Yeah, but okay. Yeah, but I also think that just Ravens are better coached than the Browns too. Who's the D coordinator for the Browns?
I don't know. Yeah, off the top of my head, I'm not gonna be able to tell you that. But so you said 27-24?
4 is what I said.
Listen, I'm at the end at the end of the day, and we're gonna go through the chat really quickly before we log off here, just to see if there's anything else that should highlight. To me, I'm prove it. I'd rather predict a Jets loss and then win than predict a win and then lose. So I'm gonna say some weird score. 20-15 Browns. Just a little bit low scoring, weird. Some field goals.
So you're just going to get one touchdown, 2 field goals, and a safety?
No. The Jets score a touchdown, miss the extra point, and score 3 field goals because they can't capitalize.
Okay.
So it's a missed extra point that leads.
So they miss an extra point, but make 3 field goals.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That's how it's going to go, because it's weird with the Jets. So 20-15 Browns. I hope to all hell that they win this game. I do. But listen, the Browns are a good defense. They have good corners. They have really good DNs. They have a good running game. Could the Jets pull us out?
Any idea how Delpit's been after he's come back from that injury his rookie year?
Not enough to quantify it and really give you an answer. I don't like to say, yeah, he's been good when he's been bad, or bad when he's been good. So with that, yeah, I think they could win this game. At the end of the day, if the Panthers can compete with the Browns, are we that much worse of a team than the Panthers? If anything, I think you stack up our rosters 1 for 1. I think we might be better than the team than the Panthers. So I think we can win this. Now going into Cleveland, their home opener, their new logo reveal, that could obviously inject some juice into the Browns, but it can also inject some bad juice into the Browns. There are teams who get a little bit overzealous at home. So we'll see what happens. Jacoby Brissett, we should be able to beat that quarterback. But at the end of the day, people talk about Jacoby Brissett and discount the fact that we have Joe Flacco. So you're talking about minus the quarterbacks, Jets first roster versus the Browns roster. The Browns probably win. at least at this point. Now, do I think the Jets have more unproven, younger talent in the Browns? Yeah, probably, but they still have to prove it, right? So, anything else to add before we get to the rest of the chat? I don't know if there's anything else in here that we got to highlight, but
Nothing else for me, man. Although I'm sending you that Myles Garrett sack right now, as promised.
Great. I don't want to watch it. 9-7. Jets at the L. 31-13. We have a Matt Graff 9-7. We have Jets 16, Browns 14. Okay. I would love a win 28-17. Sucks. Andrew Finns still fucking suck. I agree with you. Kyle, any last words for the chat before we get out of here? And again, this might be the last time I see you guys for 3 or 4 weeks. We'll see what I'm able to pull off in Italy. Actually, no, sorry, I lied. I will be doing a stream on on Tuesday night. I don't know what time, 6, 8, 10. It might be Wednesday at 12 o'clock. I have no idea. I will stream after the Browns game, but you probably won't get a review of that game, and you won't get a review of the Bengals, the Steelers, or the Dolphins game because I'll be away. Is what it is. But
you got a life to live, Joe.
Exactly.
You put out a ton of content, so it's okay.
Italy's calling.
Yeah, have fun on vacation and don't feel bad. And shout out to everyone in the chat. Listen, it was a lively chat. There was a lot of arguing and stuff too, but that shows a passion for the game of football. People calling each other idiots and stuff, calling each other clueless. Listen, I welcome the debate. I might not agree with you. I might get aggressive sometimes too, but I welcome it. And very, we gotten a lot more super chats this week than we have in previous weeks. So very much appreciated everyone who did that. That's about it for me. I guess I won't be on next week just because of how you have to do things with Italy.
Yeah.
But I guess I'll be on in 2 weeks then.
Yeah, Kyle's most likely going to carry the stream after the Bengals, the Steelers, and maybe the Dolphins. I might be home to get home for the Dolphins, or I might be here to get, or I might be back to get here for the Dolphins stream. So I'll see you next live stream, and Kyle will be carrying it after that. So with Kyle solo, Kyle with Jan, Kyle with Michael Nania, Jan, Michael Nania. We'll see. Jan, I haven't seen your skills yet, but I wish I could have met you at the tailgate. I appreciate all you guys, and I will see you in a couple of days. Make sure to go watch the reviews. Jacob Martin's for free. Quan Alexander's for free. And the film review for the Ravens game will be out.
So when you say they're for free, they're up on the YouTube channel in full.
In full, completely for free. Yes.
There you go. So you don't even got to go far. It's just on this channel. All right.
Yes.
Take care. Peace.
See you guys later.